Did you? I have to ask. Did you bring cotton candy?
No, I just use that as a bag. I'm never sure how to start these. Welcome back to... No, we're not welcome back. Welcome to... I'm going to start all that again. Welcome to All Doubt. I'm Vincent.
I'm Phelan.
And this time we're talking about Newsies, the classic 1992.
Modern classic?
Christian Bale musical, Disney
moderately
musical
successful, now really successful.
About a strike in 1899 about newspapers and such. And also a bit of the Broadway one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but first, Phelan, how have you been? What have you been up to?
I'm doing pretty good. What have I been up to? Working and not actually watching as many movies as I want to for once. So I'm trying to deviate from that. Went on a hike last week, ish. You know, went for a nice little stroll in the park. It was nice. Actually got outside, you know. I feel like you associate the image of people who talk about watching a lot of movies as just being like, you know, neckbeard guys that don't go out much, but like, the sun, it's great when you get out and do that.
Not a fan.
No, not a fan. Vitamins and all that jazz, fresh air. Also, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the fact that I'm rampantly distracted today by the fact that I'm wearing a Buzz Lightyear t-shirt and you're wearing a Reptar from Rugrats t-shirt. Because we just look like two relics of the 90s just sitting here.
Of the best decade.
Well, hot takes on hot topics.
The best decade to grow up in.
To grow up in? I mean, it was pretty dandy. It was pretty dandy. Pokemon...
Yeah, all the best cartoons.
My TV was pretty chill.
So many technological leaps. Not any of the terrors we have these days.
Speaking of the 90s and technological leaps, you brought me right around to the fact that I saw the new Lion King.
Okay.
Because you literally just put together the two things that are relevant to that, which is 90s nostalgia and modern technology. I liked it more than I thought I would. Definitely
Always strong.
Always strong. Good way to start. All right. Papa bless. Thank you, Jon Favreau. I obviously didn't like it anywhere near as much as the original because that's just kind of, that's like another echelon of like filmmaking and, you know, very unique signature place in pop culture as well as just film history. But I did really enjoy it. I think particularly, I understand for some of the criticisms we're aimed at. I've actually seen it twice since, only because the first time I saw it with my mom, because it's like one of those like family, like connection to Disney. Mom and I still see Disney movies together. It's like our thing. But then I also saw it with a good friend of mine who we first bonded and became friends a few years ago over Lion King, like the original. Okay. When we worked in a movie theater together, actually. But, so we went and saw it together again. It was one of those, I didn't feel like I needed to see it a second time in the theater, but I really wanted to with this friend of mine because it had that significance for both of us. So, yeah. It was good.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Did I already talk about Lion King before?
We kind of touched on it in passing because I hadn't seen it yet. Because I was going, like, I think the week after we last met.
Yeah, like, I enjoyed it as well. It, like, you know, it didn't really excite me. Like, I also wasn't, like, a super big fan of the original Lion King. It was great, you know, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't, like, my favorite. As much as other people have it as their favorite.
I'm other people now?
Yes, you're not me. That's definitely some other people.
It just sounds really otherizing.
I was heartbroken when they cut short Scar's song. That is actually one of the biggest
bits of shrapnel flack that I have heard from people is people, like, you want to talk about a hot take? Like, there's a lot of contention about this movie, but people are not happy about, be prepared in brackets 2019 as it's called in the credits. Yeah, because it's kind of more of like a spoken monologue, which is kind of what they did in Jungle Book with a lot of the songs.
Well, like in the original, right, Be Prepared, there was the spoken bit at the beginning, the poetic, you know, like rhythmic speaking, and then he turns into a song.
I never thought hyenas essential.
Yes.
They're crude and unspeakably plain.
Yes, exactly. That. And then it stops being that and starts becoming a great song. Right. And I might have made this joke before, but I can understand them not doing the choreography.
Yes, I think you and I talked about the lack of, in 2019, we don't need not see hyenas. No.
So I'm on board with that. But, like, I wanted their more song.
Yes.
Right? And I don't know, I might have mentioned this before. They might be trying to, like, not make the bad guys as, cool is not the right word, but, like, you know what I mean?
Likeable?
Well, like, maybe they think giving them a cool song makes them too cool. or makes them cooler than they want them to be.
Okay.
You know, because you don't want to look like you're idolizing these bad guys.
Right.
Right.
While, with that being said, I feel like there's a part where they have to draw a line. I mean, the line's kind of arbitrary on that, though, because when they did the live-action Beauty and the Beast a couple of years ago, Gaston, like, for me, was one of the best parts of that movie, right?
Yeah, and, like, the Gaston song is of the live-action ones that I've seen, the one that has survived. Like, they took away Jafar's song in Aladdin.
Saw the same one, actually. And in Jungle Book, they made I Want to Be Like You. I mean, King Louie's kind of a villain.
I haven't seen.
Okay, well, the orangutan, is it? I think he's an orangutan in the original one, and they make him just like a really big, gigantic gorilla monkey orangutan thing in the live action, quote unquote, Jungle Book. And he kind of, it's like Christopher Walken, like doing basically what they did with Scar and Lion King, where he's like singing, like a monologue. Like prose, like you know.
But yeah, they took away Jafar's song in Aladdin, which I don't know. Like he does become a bit more Fourth Wall-y in that song, so sure. And there wasn't really a bad guy in Dumbo for them to take a song away from.
No, they didn't really do music in Dumbo.
Yeah, they didn't fit. They couldn't find space to fit a bad guy in the 65-minute movie.
Yeah, Michael Keaton is like not a cool dude, but you don't really he doesn't kill James Earl Jones by pushing him in lion form off a cliff.
So they did expand a lot on the Dumbo lore in the live action.
The very least Dumbo lore with a straight face, I actually can't hack that, man. Dumbo lore.
But and with the Little Mermaid live action that's coming up, you know, the Poor Unfortunate Souls by Ursula. Yeah. You know, I'm curious if they're going to keep that in because that's a beloved song.
You know? And I mean, they've also, I think they made pretty clear, just everyone's taking away now, that Mulan is not going to be a musical.
Oh, yeah, it's not.
So, I mean, not that there was really a villain song in that one, but some of the wicked numbers.
They had some solid songs. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember the bad guy doing the soft shoe at any point.
No, he's just a big, scary Hun with glowing eyes and a falcon sidekick. Yeah. Which is pretty cool, actually. Yeah, you don't really need a song when you barely speak and have that as a descriptor.
But going back to Lion King, I don't know if you've heard this, but apparently it's 100% CG. Well, 99% CG, except for one actual scene that they said they put in in an interview. Jon Favreau, I believe, said that they put it in to see if people could tell. Right. I did not know that when I watched the movie, and I have not seen the movie since. And I don't know, this might be outdated information, but I haven't seen anyone point out this is totally that scene. Which is a fascinating thing. And also as a testament to how advanced or how good looking the technology has gotten. Right. Stuff like this.
I wonder if it's one of the scenes in the desert or something.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's got to be one of the animal montages.
Because that valley where Timon and Pumbaa live is pretty clearly CGI.
And I can't imagine they found Rafie's tree
or Pride Rock. Yeah, exactly.
Good thing we found this.
Good thing we found this giant tree with large papaya type fruits that a mandrill baboon can eat. God, man, that really saved us a lot of time. Probably not what happened. I'm curious about that. I don't know. In conclusion on that, I don't know. I give it a crisp 8.5 out of 10. Yeah. It had a lot of notes for me. I understand the criticism that it wasn't necessary and that people, I've joked that it's like watching a National Geographic documentary because you're watching real lions that don't emote like cartoons did, but I still had a really good time.
Yeah. And I feel like it might not be as impressive to people our age, but the people who are our age when it originally came out.
Yes.
I could easily see them having this new Lion King as highly held as the Lion King originally was for us when we were.
Right. Because I feel like you can't deny one way or the other whether you were a fan of certain things, that the technology, the effects, visually it was a stunning movie. I really do believe that. Also, shout out to the fact that I'm really biased because Rafiki is my favorite Disney character of all time. There's just something about a babbling, borderline senile, mandrill, monkey guy with a staff that I just think is really, really cool.
I have heard some, minor complaints that they didn't have him say as many, weird shit as in this new one as he did in the original one. Yeah. But, the more I think about it, I'm thinking, maybe that was racist.
Well, I also just like the fact that, he is the whole movie kind of ranting to himself in Xhosa, I believe. I think that's what the African dialect that he's speaking is. He's just kind of ranting to himself as he swings from tree to tree, babbling to himself quietly like a crazy old man. Right. Which is, that's fine with me. I can't understand it, but I don't need to put my, I don't need to transpose that I don't speak an African language you know what I mean, onto the fact, like, I can still enjoy him babbling away and crazy muttering under his breath while not understanding what he's saying. Right. Just the image of it is entertaining, right? And is funny, seeing this kind of little cuckoo wise man.
Yeah, and I guess he did have the important ones of like, oh, who are you? I know who I am, who are you?
Yes.
Stuff like that.
I mean, he doesn't do the whole Asante Sama Squash Banana, I'm a baboon, you're not. But that's, you know what, they need to take everything from the animated one.
Yeah.
So, other than that, I've watched Newsies, which is our subject of conversation today, and I don't really know for the life of me what else I watched. I really have not had a lot of movie time recently. It kind of makes me sad. Oh. I'm at like my lowest point, like creatively and happy when I'm not watching a lot of films.
Gotta fill the tank.
I did watch the first episode recently of a BBC, HBO, maybe it's HBO show called Harlots. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have not heard of it.
It's basically about like two, like, at least how the first season starts is like two competing.
Is it like a period piece?
Yeah, it's a period piece in like, I believe it's the 17 or 1800s.
Okay, I was gonna say, I don't think that title would hold if it's like a modern day.
Yeah, no, but it's basically about like as it starts like two competing brothels in London, and it's super fascinating. The costumes are exquisite. It is a period piece, and some familiar faces, really good cast. Yeah, enjoying that so far. Probably going to watch more of that when I have free time. And other than that, oh, you know what? I'm actually completely remiss. My last one before I allow you to speak instead of dominating the mic. I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, yes.
And I'm going to use my customary line that that's a whole episode into itself. I absolutely loved it. Like a straight, like, 10 out of 10. One of my favorite films of Tarantino's in a long time for a variety of reasons. I genuinely, most importantly, taking away from it, it's the first time I've actually really gotten something out of and related to a Leonardo DiCaprio character, and it is by far, in my opinion, my favorite performance of Brad Pitt's career. I genuinely adored him in this movie and would love if he got a nomination or something. I thought he was great.
Yeah, no, I've also seen that, so this could be the segue into my last how, like, I'm trying to put together things I don't know anything about. There was an article. I read an article. I read the headline of an article about how Brad Pitt is a great character actor in a leading actor's body. Like, there have been a lot of movies where he plays like a really particular person.
Right.
Or not in like, oh, this is Frank Johnson or whatever, but like a very specific characterized person.
Right.
And he just plays it to the hilt. And a lot of people are like, oh man, that guy can act. And this is another one of them, of him just being this like affable, like, all right, sure, yeah, let's do that kind of buddy kind of guy. And then just like beneath the surface, this like cold sociopath.
Right, of like, did he kill his wife? They just left that plot point unanswered. Yeah. And also, he's like a kung fu stuntman. There's a lot of cool stuff going on there. Yeah, he was genuinely funny. Yeah, too. You know what I mean? And,
that like line he had against Bruce Lee.
Yeah, man, that scene is getting some flack, but I thought it was hilarious. And I'm not saying that to be like ignorant or whatever, because I have like my opinions on the way that the movie was structured. But man, I absolutely loved that scene. This movie, as of course with anything Tarantino does, it's funny because comparatively it's one of his less violent ones.
Yeah, it suddenly becomes a different movie.
It suddenly at the end it becomes a very different movie. But so it's comparatively, it's funny for like his arguably least violent film. It is still getting its fair source of criticism and contention, which people are entitled to, obviously. Though I quite enjoyed it.
One thing that I guess heavily impacted my viewing of that movie is that I did not know that Sharon Tate was a real person.
Oh.
So that was very vital information for the significance of Margot Robbie's character.
And in regards to background, like pop cultural, like context,
yeah. Because like prior to watching the movie, I had heard some like some people at the theater mentioning that like, it was supposed to like they were interested because it was originally going to be apparently more about the Mansons.
Right.
But then it got pulled back, so they only show up for a bit.
Yes. Which was, I think, worked.
And like I wasn't sure if I was supposed to know that going in.
Right.
So I didn't do any research about the Mansons other than like what like culturally, osmosisly I know.
Potential spoilers for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
No, I recommend reading up about the Mansons.
Really? You don't think you like going in blind? Because I didn't. The thing is, I didn't go in blind. I had a bit of context. Does that affect your?
Because like I did not know who Sharon Tate was. Right. And her being of the three main characters beside DiCaprio, who was fictional, and Brad Pitt, who was fictional, meant, oh, okay, I'm sure she's also fictional. So when she doesn't talk to the other two main characters, when she doesn't meet the other two main characters, when she doesn't do anything really, not to take away from her performance, but in terms of like contributing to the plot.
Yes.
Or
which I definitely think was deliberate too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end, her, I guess, connection to the main characters, the other two main characters, is by inviting DiCaprio over to her house and implying to kickstart the rest of his career. I'm like, oh, I don't need to know who she is. I don't need to know her background if that's all she does. But with the knowledge that she is historically the person who gets horribly murdered that night.
Very historically significant, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, then that recontextualizes the, cheerful but technically not important scenes of her just living her life in the context of her as the like up and coming innocent, as a dramatic irony kind of thing before the tragic end of what we expect the story to be.
Right. I think that's interesting that you say that, because I kind of had wondered watching this film, like hypothetically, what if your knowledge of true life events changes the context of viewing the film. Because for me, I was very content with what they did with Margot Robbie's story and don't agree with the criticism of her being like a non-character, quote unquote, because it seemed clear that he was framing it in a particular way by having these two main storylines not intersect to build a certain degree of suspense and make you empathize with this person who's living kind of like a menial, common life, just going about her business. And obviously, I guess the context of knowing that she was someone very significant in history, it seemed more like they were building towards something, and I didn't really find that it wasn't a payoff. I just found it an interesting, a hypothetical movie, which is implicit to me in the title. I even think of calling it like making it a Once Upon a Time story. Like it's a fiction. There's caricatures of real people. There's even some of the fake the characters that are fictional are caricatures, right? They're larger than life, and there are certain exaggerated qualities that they have.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, not knowing that Margot Robbie's character, Sharon Tate, was a actual character who had, like, a pretty important connection to the Manson family.
Yeah.
Let's say. I did not have the dread that I feel the movie wants you to have.
Right.
In the anticipation of what you expect is going to happen with specifically her character. Because I didn't know, what happened in actual history to Sharon Tate prior to watching the movie. So in the scene when she's, in the movie theater, glowing because people are liking her performance in the movie, there's not the melancholy, forlornness of seeing a doomed person feeling joy.
Right.
Which is what I feel like it's supposed to be like happy because she's happy, but sad because we know what's going to happen in that scene. And I didn't know what's going to happen to her. So I don't have that. I just have okay, she's having a good day.
Yeah.
Oh wow, she spent a lot of time in that movie theater. It's nighttime now. But yeah. But I don't want to get too much into it. I guess if we could. I think I can say more about it without going more into it, or otherwise I might have run out of words.
Yes.
One of those two.
What else have you watched recently?
I also watched. What else have I watched? I went camping. Past 2 weekends, I've gone camping separately twice. Once was camping in tents and such in trees. With no internet. I had data, so it's fine. And the other time was more summer camp, cabins, they give you food, kind of camping. But yeah, for the camping, it was just 2 nights. And I spent both nights in the car. Because I'm a fan of sleeping inside of a thing where the walls can't roll up.
Sounds like there's some trauma there, but we'll talk about that after.
but which turned out to be a great idea because the first night it rained very hard.
Okay.
And I was fine because I was in the car. But and the second night it was very, very cold. But I was in the car, so I was fine. But on the first night when it was raining, I had just gotten to sleep, and then I see the light turn on in the back, door. What do you call them?
The trunk.
The trunk. The trunk door.
The boot.
The back door, the trunk of the car opened up, and there's just like a face there, and it was my dad because the ramp had like I guess one of the ropes tying the tarp above the tent had come undone or whatever, and he needs to get the rope. But I just hear I just fallen asleep, and I see the light snap on and the trunk snap open, and then there's just a face there. I'm like So it was much more excitement than I expected seconds after having fallen asleep.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was nice. I got to be out in the air. We went to see a fish hatchery on the second day, which was right across the train tracks. But and the lady in the office, you could hear that she was very annoyed about this. There had been a train parked there for the past month, and since we were going with a bunch of kids also, and we didn't want to, or at least I particularly did not want to encourage these children to climb over a train, we walked around the train, which added like 20 minutes onto our journey to it. And it was nice. We got there. It happened to be an open house, I guess. So the kids were able to like release some like baby salmon into the stream, little tadpole things.
That's very wholesome.
There was some like troughs with also a bunch of baby salmon. Tadpoles? Aren't they called tadpoles? I thought tadpoles just
public survey question. Are they called tadpoles?
But anyway, like a little like tadpole looking stage of the salmon, and like you could like throw food at them, and they'd all like swarm the place where the food landed. And some kids like painted some wooden fish. It was nice. And then to get back, since it was a hot day and we were tired, we just like climbed over the train. and like, kids do not do this.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah. And that was that. I started watching the first couple episodes of the Star Wars Clone Wars.
Oh, yes.
The CG one. Because, like, there's also, like, a cartoony one.
Yo, if you're talking about the one from, like, the early 2000s, the cartoon one, but the same one, a guy who did, like, Samurai Jack and Dexter's Laboratory, that show was banging. I love that cartoon.
Because, like, I haven't looked at that one, but I've heard good things from one of my coworkers about the CG one.
Right.
So I watched like the first episode, exactly the first episode of
it's Yoda, right?
That one, yeah. The Yoda one, where
the Yoda.
I don't know. The older I get, and the more of Star Wars I watch, the more transparently racist some of the aliens are.
So there's been much conversation, yes.
I'm not a big Star Wars fan or a big Star Trek fan. This is probably not news, broadly speaking, but yeah, some of those aliens are pretty transparent. They're supposed to be. And I also watched, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And, Newsies. I watched the 1992 one with Christian Bale and Robert Duvall. Is there anyone else famous in?
Bill Pullman,
yeah.
He's Independence Day. He's been in a lot of movies.
Yeah, the president of Independence Day. Before he got elected. And Robert Duvall. And I also watched the Broadway one, or most of it. I didn't have time to finish it up. But I saw the one at Stanley Park a couple of weeks ago. Right. I'm planning on seeing it again. Because it got extended an extra week. For them. It was supposed to finish it and the... Because like I said, the alternate nights between Newsies and Mamma Mia. Right, the Theater Under the Stars at Stanley Park. And they got extended an extra week to the 23rd, I believe. So I'm planning to catch another show of that. But that one was based on the Broadway one. I don't know why I'm summarizing this. This is just three things. I've seen the 1992 one. I've seen the one on stage, and the recorded Broadway one, which is basically the same as the one on stage, but... Well,
you're still technically two versions ahead of me, as I've only seen the 92 one. But...
Yeah, so let's get into it. We'll go through it chronologically, or in the order the movie goes through things. Do you have any initial thoughts at the beginning?
I definitely, first things first, I thought this movie, like, despite being a Disney film, I was, like, so worried it was going to end in tragedy, because they take a lot of time in the very beginning, like, talking about, like, when everything changed, and there's like a close-up on Christian Bale's face, and I thought it was going to be one of those like tragic stories where like he's brutally, horrifically killed or something.
And that's why you don't form a union.
Basically, yeah, he's going to get freaking, like, you know, clubbed to death. Fortunately, spoiler for Newsies, 1992, he doesn't die, which is cool. I was really worried about that, you know, watching, like, you know, 17-year-old Christian Bale.
We never hear back from that lady saying at the beginning, though, looking for a kid.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you just took me way down off my class there.
Right past.
Well,
that woman singing mournfully for her lost child
as the nuns feed them food.
Are handing out bread and water to orphans, and no one's paying attention to her.
Well, and then anyways, that was Newsies. Thank you for tuning in. I'm done.
But it opens up with the kids asleep, the weirdly ripped teenagers.
We need to talk about, okay, big pause, choking on an ice cube, fat T.O. What the hell was going on? Were those kids on like anabolic steroids or something?
Well, you gotta have some meat in your bones to hawk all those newspapers.
Those papes. We only have to. I'm not doing this whole episode in a bad New York accent. Sorry, Christian Bale. We know who you are, but
yes, Christian Bale. We know who you are,
but personally. But we can at least use some of the slang. So papes. If you're gonna hawk papes, you apparently one of the job requirements when you're at the shelter for underprivileged orphan teen boys,
no, specifically for newspaper or children.
Well, that's what. Well, what's I was going to say?
Like newsboys.
No socks, no shoes, no muscles, no papes. I think that's how the policy on the boarding house goes. Yeah, what was going on with that? That one in particular, you know what I'm talking about? The one who was like the one who was like ambiguously like the not one of the like guys who like looked like vaguely like he was South Asian. I couldn't quite tell.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just like yoked. I'm like, this kid like
ends up in suspenders.
Yeah, and he's just suspenders and no shirt. Thank you, God. I'm sure we aren't the only two. Can you like give us a comment if you were also distracted by the grossly like ripped teen / playing a teen? Like it was really unnatural. Like what was the casting call for this movie? Like were they really specific? Does everyone have to be like lithe like with Olympic?
It's what they ate back then, you know, in like 1899.
I guess like yeah, if you're hopping around rooftops like Spider-Man, you got to be able to.
No, it's like Riverdale, you know.
Over all the people who are quote unquote teenagers, but are actually actors in their late 20s or yoked.
You know, like in minor spoilers for one of the nonsense, crazy madcap plots in Riverdale. In the season when Archie is in jail and he's thrown a impromptu football match, and to break up the bonding that he's fostering between the rival gangs in the prison, the warden has a bunch of like riot police show up and just beat these kids down with like 50s era foam not foam, like padded riot shields and like billy clubs, right? And you might think that hey, calling 50 dudes to come and like beat down these children with sticks might be a bit much. But have you seen...
when they're all jacked!
Yeah, have you seen the teens on Riverdale? The quote-unquote jacked teens?
The teens? Yeah. Wait. Not a day over 17. Creepy.
So later on in the movie, to skip ahead briefly, in Newsies, when they call in the 50 dudes with baseball bats to beat these children.
Yes.
It sort of makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, I suppose so.
You know, hey, dude, I think we have too many people. Have you seen that one kid?
And also, that's the thing too. Is you have this moment where I'm like, why are all the New York kids? You know, some of them are jacked. Yeah, don't get me wrong. But then that part where they're all cornered and oh god, what's going to happen? And then just all the Brooklyn kids show up and they've all got metal capped clubs and slingshots. I'm like, why are all the Brooklyn kids packing? Brooklyn.
They're from Brooklyn. The answer is in the question.
Oh, okay. The fair, true. The Q and A are the same letter in this case. Okay, I got you.
But yeah, so they all wake up in the abandoned shack. It's a pretty organized. It's an organized
house.
Like a bunkhouse.
With the friendly old man who is, like, encouraging them to make money, but also seems really cash money and cool.
He's, like, I saw the Broadway one first, where that guy does not exist.
Oh, okay.
The stage production first, which that guy does not exist, so I'm like, is that Weasel? Is that, like, he seems way too nice to be Weasel.
Yeah.
But yeah, he rushes them out, they have their song and dance about them getting ready to go to work for pennies.
Yes.
I'm also, like, I should have looked this up, but I'm curious how much a penny is worth.
Yeah, I was wondering that about the currency thing, too, because some of these kids, like Christian Bale's lead character of Jack, is just, like hucking money out left, right, and center. I'm like, all right, they're money bags. Like, why are you living on the street?
So the Newsies get the papers half off. Like,
yes.
So like, if you... So you buy 100 papes for 50 cents. You sell them all. You make 50 cents.
Right.
After your initial 50-cent investment.
Yeah.
I took some economics classes. Yeah. So you come out 50 cents ahead if you sell 100. We don't really see anyone getting more than 100 because that makes sense. You can't. It's hard to... They're already struggling selling 100.
Right.
So, like, you make 50 cents a day. And, like, that's apparently enough to... You're not living large, but you're, like, sustaining a, like, street urchin lifestyle.
Yes. Well, correction. I have to correct you on this. You're maybe, quote unquote, as you said, like, barely or just selling 100 papers. Unless you're attractive, pretty boy, elven-looking Christian Bale with the same haircut that he has in the Batman movies, smooth-talking ladies and random guys on the street. Right. Then you sell 100 papers like it ain't nothing.
Sure, but he only asks for 100 papers. Unless he's, like, taking papers from other kids to sell for them. He's still only making 50 cents. They hold him up as, like, the best of them. He's, like, their leader unofficially until they elect him as president.
Yes.
So he's like the best. He's the, like, experienced hand at hawking papes at these New Yorkers. Right. But he only gets 100.
Yes.
Right. He when he partners up with Les and Davey, he puts 50 more on top of their 20. So between them, they have 170. I just did that in my head. So
I'd like to just take a pause. I'm just going to slip in an applause sound effect in post-production here. Just making a marker, just clapping after you said that you did the math in your head.
I feel like we need to stop doing that. And however many the kid picks up. Because I think, like, the kid just grabs a bunch of ones.
Yeah.
We don't really see the kid paying for anything.
No.
Like, the little, like, less, we don't really... But, yeah, so even then that's, like, split among 3, and that's just because the little kid can like, move papers because he's an adorable child.
Yes.
So, yeah, like, arguably, best case scenario, from the most experienced newspaper kid, you're making 50 cents.
Right.
And... I don't know, maybe they needed to have bought more things so we know the price point of, like... Well, no, like, what was it? They had this in the stage production. I don't remember if it was in the movie, but, like, when they're in the bar... Not the bar, the diner? Whatever.
The diner.
They're all getting water, and then one of the kids orders, like, a seltzer water, and the guy's like, that'll be 2 cents. It's like, I don't have 2 cents, just give me the water. Right. So, like... It costs 2 cents for seltzer. So, to extrapolate from that I don't know how much other things cost.
There's a part of the movie.
So the only 2 things we have the price for is papes, which cost the regular consumer a penny, or a cup of seltzer water, which costs the equivalent of 2 papers.
Yes.
So, I feel like we're only hitting the, like, lower edge of how much things cost in the economy of 1899 New York.
I was about to say, just to clarify, we're starting our film review and analysis of this movie with an economics lesson.
Well, that is a big part of their strength.
So far we've covered Jack, teenage boys, and an economics lesson. It can only go up from here.
Well, economics is really deep in the premise of the movie because they jack up the price by 10 cents per 100.
I agree. Just think it's funny overframing this to begin. Did you see that ripped 16-year-old? Yeah. Also, what does a penny even mean? There's a headline for you.
Right. So, and them raising the price per 100 per 100 tapes by 10 cents is enough to strike over.
Yes.
Right.
So it's significant.
Whereas the Subway sandwich where I buy my footlongs from, like, raise their price for a footlong by like a quarter. No, like $1. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this is what I'm paying now. You know, I'm not like picketing outside.
Can you imagine? You're like dancing on swinging around the poles, like. Oh man! Speaking of which, that's also a great thing I have to addressing right there from the get-go. You can tell from like the first musical number, like Carrying the Banner, right?
Yeah.
I think the song's called. A lot of those kids can't sing, and I think that's part of what some of like I don't know if the flack was. I think it really kind of fits like
the ones with names. Probably can sing. More so.
I'm giving you the 50-50.
No, from what I hear, it being a musical was a pretty last-minute addition.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's also, and I'm pretty sure this is true, it also killed the live-action musical for Disney until High School Musical.
Wow. That's really funny.
So from 1992 to, let's say, 2005.
Yeah.
That, like, nope, we're not doing that again.
Zac Efron, eat your heart out, baby. Yeah, I don't know. I think personally, I just kind of felt like a bunch of those kids like can't sing, but man, can most like all of them dance.
Yeah,
I was thoroughly impressed by Christian Bale. He's got that part, like I'm gonna say, like a half hour into the movie where he's singing his first big solo number, the song Santa Fe, that becomes a refrain like 3 times through the movie. He's like dancing in the street and stuff like that. I was like, man, Batman got moves.
This is what he did before he shipped himself off to that monastery.
To climbing them after his parents got gunned down in Gotham City.
Yeah, that's where, like, oh man, I really hope I get to Santa Fe before my parents are shot.
Yeah, Santa Fe.
But yeah, there's this also a divergence with the stage one, which the stage one was made after the film. The film was made first, and then they retooled it and improved it. For one reason or another, as a stage Broadway thing, and they kept like extending it because it kept doing so well, and it's now a pretty well liked stage thing. Yeah. I took it. I have an English degree.
I watched the stage thing in the park with the pretty lights.
But in the stage production, it starts with, instead of them all like sleeping in like a bunkhouse or whatever, it's Jack and Crushy. They're on a roof, and that's when they sing Santa Fe.
Oh, okay.
So they have Santa Fe right out the gates instead of like half an hour in. Right. As sort of their like, their I want song. A lot of musicals need an I want song.
I want song, like, yeah.
Whereas Carrying the Banner is more of like, this is what happens. This is like a setting the stage song.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, and a lot of them, like Les Mis, Aladdin, they all kind of do that, right?
Yeah. So they're on the rooftop. Jack has this joke about like, hey, check out my patio. Check out my penthouse. Check out my penthouse. Not my patio.
Hey, MTV, welcome to my crib.
Yeah. It's sort of like, this is what I got, but it's great. Like I'm above the thing. I can see the sky if I want to. I can look up at the horizon, kind of thing. And then they transition almost immediately into Carrying the Banner.
Right.
With the nuns. They take out the lady looking for her kid, because that doesn't really have anything to do with anything.
I was going to say, that was a bit of a non-starter, hey? I thought it was going to come back later.
I remember reading they put that in to show that there's a lot of missing kids. There's a lot of like...
Right, because the whole idea is like children being exploited for labor is basically the whole... Oh, I whistled there. The children being exploited for labor is basically the point of the story, right? So.
Yeah, it's like... It's not good to be a kid in that time. But yeah, they do away with that lady and just have the kids singing while the nuns are also singing. There's a bit more back and forth between the Newsies and the nuns in that scene. Mm-hmm. There's like the nun. One of the nuns is like, "Oh, when are we going to see you inside the church?" And then one of the Newsies is like, "Oh, I don't know. It's going to rain someday." And there's like a little bit of a banter there. And then they go and collect the papers. And
sorry, they collect the what?
The papers, the newspapers.
They collect the what, sorry?
hey, I got time to save papers. I don't gotta move these papes.
That's adequate. Thank you. You can move on now.
But yeah, so what happened next?
So there's the carrying the banner. They transition pretty quickly once they do that kind of the character establishing, like you're saying, this is the way it is, big musical number, rah, rah, rah. Look at my pecs, I'm 16 years old. And they cut pretty quick from that to Robert Duvall's character. Pulitzer, yeah. Who, I have to say, honestly, like, here's my hot take on a movie that came out, the better part of 20, 25 years ago. I genuinely think this is one of the first things I've seen that Robert Duvall did nothing for me, and I could not take him. Like, it seemed like he forgot his lines, and it was an episode, in SNL when they do those skits where they have the cards up on the side and it's kind of part of the skit that like the actor, the comedian is reading off of it, kind of it's by the camera. It was like that, but he couldn't actually read.
We gotta talk about Peter Pan Goes Wrong as one of the next assignments. But go on.
Okay. I actually couldn't take him seriously for a bunch of his lines. It's like he's doing an accent, but then it cuts out at parts, and then his spacing, it's like he's almost doing a Christopher Walken thing where it's like, Josh, these kids, 10 more cents for the papers. And I'm like, what is going on? Is this a character quirk? Are you forgetting your lines? Are you having a stroke on camera? Like, Duvall, baby, what's going on?
It also took me a second to recognize him because I think that's the youngest I've ever seen him.
Also true.
But also because like the and he didn't have the same I don't know, in the musical they give him like a deeper voice than Robert Duvall.
Authoritative.
Then Robert Duvall's sort of like old manish voice.
With a slight accent though. Did you hear that? Please tell me I'm not crazy. He's like doing a thing.
I don't know. He sounded like Robert Duvall.
He's doing a thing. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a slight kind of like Jewish twang or like what like a.
Oh yeah, I can.
You're killing me here. Like there's a bit of that in it, but like it just didn't land for me. I'm like, are you doing a German accent? Are you doing like a Europe? Like what is going on?
He did apparently fight in the war, or is that just in the musical? Did he mention he was in a war?
I feel like there was a few people that were in a war in that movie. It was the time.
And looking at the timeline, a couple more people are going to be in a war very soon.
Yeah. And you like the... Woo! The whole kind of... the character of the reporter who comes in later, played by Bill Pullman, and they're talking about how he's like a wartime correspondent, and they're getting ready to send him out again.
Right. I mean, 1899... If my history is correct,
you're
World War I.
Yeah, you're about 15 years away.
Yeah, like those kids, no matter how happy he's going to go, might not go that happy.
Crutchy's probably good.
Yeah, sure.
That's the one that he's got going for him.
If he survives his polio.
Dude, oh my god, this movie's so sad. Why are we talking about this movie realistically? It's just making me sad, bro.
But yeah, so he did have my strongest memory of Robert Duvall is it's 50-50 between what's it called? Falling Down. Have you seen Falling Down?
No, it's one with Michael Douglas, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, where Robert Duvall is just a cop who's like maybe pretty close to retirement, actually. But he doesn't die. Spoilers. But he's just... But yeah, the premise is like, I think Michael Douglas' character is just fed up.
Yes.
Just fed up. And like, that's the entire plot. He's just fed up and he's just walking through town, through LA on a heat wave. And he's just fed up about everything. And of course, that results in a cop being interested in him, and the cop is just trying to figure out where he is. And that's Robert Duvall. So it's half that. It's half Robert Duvall as cop and half... have you seen Secondhand Lions?
Secondhand Lions. I don't think I have.
It's Robert Duvall, Michael Caine, and Haley Joel Osment.
Okay, I actually don't think I've heard of this.
Oh, it's great. It's a very, very nice movie. There's also a lion. But it's Robert Duvall and Michael Caine.
Okay.
They're brothers. And they're like crazy recluses in like a cabin... Oh, in a house on like some farmland.
Okay.
And the family rumor is that they have millions stashed away because they're maybe bank robbers.
Oh, good. Okay.
So Haley Joel Osment's mom sends him off to live with them, so to like win their good graces, so that he'll get the money when they die, because they're pretty old now and they're gonna die soon. while I, your mother, go off to I don't know, secretary school or whatever. which turns out not to be true.
Spoilers for this movie.
But yeah, and then Michael Caine regales Haley Joel Osment about stories of their youth, which may or may not be true, of where they're basically adventurers.
Right.
And it's very like...
this rings a bell, actually. Maybe I did know. Yes, this would have been like early 2000s, obviously.
Yeah, 2000s.
Haley Joel Osment was still relevant. Okay.
Yeah, he was still a child.
Yeah. So relevant. Yeah, okay, this actually kind of does ring a bell.
But yeah, so those are the two...
your impressions of Robert
Duvall.
Yeah.
You know, like beleaguered cop and like grumpy grandpa uncle character.
Yes.
So seeing him as this like, I don't quite care about these poor children.
This like Scrooge Ebenezer chomping on a cigar the whole movie,
and it's like I was going to go with Scrooge McDuck, but also actual Scrooge.
Both Scrooges.
Yeah.
Scrooge squared. All Scrooges.
Yeah, it's like my expenses are exceeding my income. Let me charge those children more for them.
Yeah, it's like you were the least relatable villain ever. Like you can make a case for countless Disney villains. Remember again we're talking about like there's so many villains you can make a case for, and it's like Robert Duvall and Newsies. I feel nothing for you. Okay, I hope you wind up on shit road with no money.
I'm just imagining an alternate ending of this where it's like a Schindler's List style ending. It's like, oh man, this pen, I could have saved so many more orphans with this pen.
He's like overwhelmed.
This giant office chair, I could have saved so many more orphans with the office chair.
Jesus.
But that doesn't happen. So there's...
Spoilers for Newsies, that doesn't happen.
Yes, Robert Duvall does not turn into Liam Neeson.
Yeah, I was going to say, although if they shot that alternate ending, I wouldn't complain that they just had Liam Neeson in Robert Duvall's costume from Newsies. Just refilm
shows him off camera.
Yeah.
I am a Pulitzer now.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's Pulitzer's office. He's talking to his aides and about how his rivalry with William Randolph Hearst.
Yes.
The other newspaper magnate who Citizen Kane was based on.
Right.
A combination of him and other wealthy people. But anyway, so there's like characterizing the bad guy. Like, this is who the antagonist of the movie is. This wealthy. I guess there's also the contrast, right? Because of these kids in very identically dirty. It's not really a uniform, but they're all wearing basically the same thing.
Abject poverty, yeah.
Yeah, of like Paperboy, like 1920s Paperboy.
Yeah.
This is 1899, so I guess style doesn't move forward for these street urchins for the next 30 years.
Not so much.
Like Paperboy cap suspenders.
Some of them don't wear shirts, as we've established.
I guess he ran out of money for his shirts.
Yeah. Nope.
His gym membership took away the money from the...
Yeah, can you imagine? I feel like it'd be like a Rocky IV style when he's like in the mountains in like Siberia and he's training by doing like pull-ups on like wood beams and he's using like wheelbarrows to build his biceps and stuff. It's just like this kid goes to like an Anytime Fitness.
I don't think he'd need to go to Siberia. I think he'd just like lift the bundles of newspapers.
Oh no, but I was painting a picture.
Or those big giant blocks of ice they used to carry around in the...
Yes, just like hucking one on his shoulder and doing squats with it. I think, yeah. I mean, yeah.
But yeah, so they're talking about how his paper's not doing well, so they come up with a plan to charge the worker more.
Which, of course, has never gone wrong in the history of humanity.
Yeah, this will never in the musical. They put a song there of him. He's also getting a haircut, so they fold that into the song of right. You gotta strike a balance. If the barber, if Nunzio was the name of the barber, if he's the blade needs to be exactly right. If it's too much, if it's too little, I don't look good. If it's too much, I'm dead.
Yeah.
So it needs to be a good balance. These kids, I'm teaching them a lesson about economics. When we're through, they'll ask to pay me even more money, and stuff like that. And how this is, it's the bottom line. The song's called The Bottom Line.
Yeah.
They have a song about that, so it's not as, I guess, it was sort of boring, that scene, these, compared to the, lively, jumping around of
they're basically
kids.
Just establishing for you, if you had any hopes that Robert Duvall is going to be the kindly old man who comes in and helps these kids through their hard time, it ain't going to happen.
No, that's Roosevelt.
No, that's Roosevelt, who makes an unexpected cameo establishing an MCU-style crossover universe at the end of the movie.
Wait, with what? What's he crossing over?
With Batman, starring Christian Bale.
Wait, so you're saying Batman as a child knew Teddy Roosevelt?
That's exactly what I'm saying. How many Batman storylines have involved time travel and Justice League sci-fi mumbo-jumbo?
Well, maybe I don't know time travel, but there's certainly been like different like era equivalents of Batman. I'm sure.
I feel like this delves further analysis, but yeah, Teddy Roosevelt spoilers in the end of this movie. Not the real one. Don't get your hopes up. But we're about Teddy's corpse. So like do bye with his body. This episode's getting dark. Where are we taking this? Jesus.
But,
okay.
So then we hop back to the Newsies where Jack and Dave and Les are selling papers at a open air bare knuckle boxing ring.
Yeah, I guess there was a lot of those kicking it in the late 1800s.
Yeah, none of those people there seemed surprised about it. So
no,
I guess that was
everyone was chill.
Regular thing. I played Assassin's Creed. I'm sure there's a bunch of like fist fights just happening on the streets.
Yo, this movie is basically Assassin's Creed like 1899.
Funny side story. I was playing the one. I think it was Assassin's Creed 3, where you play as the Native American Assassin's Creed character, main character. But at the beginning of the game, you play as a white dude, right? And it's still semi the tutorial.
Yes.
The preamble of the thing. So they don't have all of the game mechanics activated yet. So one of them in particular is the cops don't care. So that there was one in that area in that area of the game. I just spent a good 20 minutes just walking up to people and just like choking them out to the ground in front of cops, and they're standing around, like the people are standing around in a circle having a conversation, and they like stop and like look at me as I'm like choking this lady just to the ground and like picking her pockets, and then stand up behind the next person and then choking him down to the ground like some kind of like weird assassin, or like I don't even know what to compare it to, but like if like, okay, I guess this is what's happening kind of thing. And like the cops would just still like wander past and like look over and then just keep walking. I'm like, wow, this is certainly a statement about race relations.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot. Newsies. Newsies 2.
But yeah, so we're introduced to Snyder. The
guy who runs the quote-unquote boys' home.
Yeah, the prison that they mentioned. In the movie, I don't think they give him a nickname, but in the musical, he's named Snyder the Spider.
Creepier.
If seeing the character and seeing what he does doesn't already give you an idea, giving him the nickname the Spider helps you along that way.
Him luring in like teenage boys so that he can profit off of the government, for running a boys' home. But he's really creepy and ominous about it the whole time. I think there's spiderweb allegories there.
Yeah, but in the guy they had as Snyder in the stage production, I played it. I watched. In the stage production I watched, the guy they had as Snyder was also the guy they had playing the barber. So it was a second. I was like, is this the same guy? No. But he had like a more like, I don't know, cartoony villain voice, which I think was better because he's supposed to be the like
secondary antagonist.
Yeah. He's like the more like immediate threat.
Yes.
He's the I guess he's the more existential threat versus Pulitzer's more like financial economic threat. But he's the like, because like in the movie Pulitzer is sort of the like the bad boss, the mean boss. Mm-hmm. He's literally the mean boss because he owns the company that they work for. But Snyder's more of the like the child snatcher, the devil kind of like evil character. Pulitzer's more like a money Scrooge McDuck kind of guy, but
Right.
But yeah, and then we're introduced to Snyder, who chases them to the theater. They keep calling it.
Yeah,
I'm but I'm not sure. Is it like a regular theater, or is it like a very particular kind of theater? You know, like, because in the stage one, they have it more of like a bit closer to like a burlesque kind of.
Yeah, kind of the vibe I was getting.
Kind of thing.
That's what I was looking for.
Or maybe it's just like a very particular weekend.
Yeah, they're just doing some burlesque stuff, every other Saturday.
Yeah, but yeah, and then we meet the theater owner, Meta. What did they call her?
The Meadowlark.
Yeah, but what was her last name?
I can't remember.
It was like Larskin or something.
Okay.
In the stage production, they streamlined that into Larkin. They just dropped one of the S's because we don't need that. But they also changed her performance, because in the movie, right, she's sort of like a songbird kind of thing, like a high kind of, you know what I mean?
No idea.
Like high notes, more like high notes kind of thing. Whereas on the stage one, in the recording as well, in the the recorded stage one, they have they cast like a bigger woman who had more of more power behind the voice.
Yeah. So
it was like a bigger, and she also had like a actual solo rather than the weird I don't even know what the performance was in the movie, but it was just sort of lilting song that she sort of has. But in the stage one, she has presence. She's and it's I forget what it's called, but no, the song's called "That's Rich," and it's just talking about how many genuine colors she has and how much money she has.
Right on, you go, Meta.
There's a bit of talking at the beginning of that song, and then transitioned into singing. The first lines are, "I live in a mansion on Long Island Sound. I pulled up a weed and found oil in the ground." She's just falling into money. All the she has a bunch of guys giving her ermine and furs and diamonds. She knows the Pope.
Right on. Wow. Party hard.
And just living large kind of thing. And which is a huge turn from the sort of inconsequential, but still pleasant, I guess, song of Meta from the movie, right?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. Her as a character. I think she's kind of the first character that they kind of establish as being sympathetic to the kids.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
To a useful degree, because there's the guy who I don't know owns the boys' home or whatever, who I guess what is he? Is he the landlord? Is he that room? Is he their roommate?
Their roommate.
Have he just been there?
Does he food for them? What's going on?
Yeah, does he make food? What's his? But yeah, so he's sort of a neutral.
You want waiting for the spin-off novel in canon that it establishes the background,
the deep lore behind the deep lore. I don't even know if they give him a name, but
I don't remember her name.
But yeah, Meta's supposed to be the she also helps characterize Jack in that he's been around a lot. He has this not flirty, but a playful relationship.
Yes.
with this lady.
Yeah. And it also ties into the whole him talking about how she was a friend of his family's or whatever, and that's why she's kind of got this sympathetic role to him. And then of course you find out later in the movie that he's not exactly who he says he is, and that his father was an ex-con and stuff like that, or is a con. So.
Yeah, I think in the musical they also changed on the stage one. They also changed the story around the parents.
Okay.
But I think even if she wasn't friends with his dad or whatever, and I think we're also supposed to look at that also as what are we friends with his dad? You say?
What is it you say? No, because he's very much Kobe. He's very much the character of Jack Kelly. Christian Bale's Jack Kelly is very much a Robin Hood type character, right? He's that hero who's larger than life that they introduce to you via the new characters that come into the story. In this case, it's Davy and Last, the brothers.
Yeah.
So they use those brothers to introduce this larger than life, folklorish, renegade, Robin Hood type character.
Yeah, Han Solo type.
Han Solo rugged type. In this case, Jack, who everybody likes.
Yeah.
Right?
But I mean, I'm saying even if she wasn't friends with her dad, I'm sure he would have been able to like win her over.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Like he's likable. He's that Robin Hood. Like everyone likes him. He's roguish and charming.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if we're supposed to take that as true, or if that's just his story,
his cover story.
Yeah, and she's cool to like play along with it.
Right. So they meet up with her, and then of course it leads to the next important part where Les and Davy take Jack home with them and introduce him to their family. And the sister, which establishes the like 3 scenes that they have together, like Jack and this girl, where they fall madly in love.
This is another place where they streamline for the musical, where the family, Les and Davy's family, are just not there. Okay. Well, they're mentioned, but they're not. They don't like show up.
Yeah,
the sister is completely not mentioned, and her role as a love interest is merged with the reporter, who is turned into a lady reporter.
Oh.
Which, normally I would say reporter, but her being a lady reporter plays into the story of, like, she's trying to make a name for herself.
Be taken serious.
Yeah. They just have her on the, like, entertainment beat, and they meet her at the theater.
Right. Oh, okay.
Well, they like, met her walking down the street earlier on during carrying the banner, where, like, Jack tries unsuccessfully to, like, flirt with her / sell her a paper. But she sort of has like a, she can like, she's shown to be able to like fend for herself in a like, nah, keep walking kind of way. So then when he sees her at the, in one of the box seats, or one of the, like a private seating areas, he like, oh, hey, you again. Nice to see you again. And yeah, there's a fun, like, back and forth between, and she says something like, hey, there's a private box, and he's like, oh, do you want me to lock the door? This like flirty, like him being him.
As opposed to the sister who, in the movie, he has 3 scenes with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much love at first sight.
Very much love at first sight. I mean, that's what happens when you get like 2 teenagers with a bunch of hormones, and one of them's basically Robin Hood.
And all of the other characters are dudes.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's not really other options for Jack here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's another song there after Meta's song, where she's this big, like, all my gentleman friends give me so much money. There's a song which is, I don't know what they call it, but it's like 2 songs on top of each other. Because there's the like sort of like cabaret singing from the second act on stage, underneath Jack's solo of like, I didn't used to believe in love, but maybe I do now, kind of thing, as he's like drawing. They also make him good at drawing.
Okay.
In the musical, they give him like more. They flesh out his character instead of he's just poor and
he likes to dress like a cowboy.
Yeah,
and
they take away his nickname though. They just keep calling him Jack in the musical.
Whoa, okay. I mean, I gotta draw a line there. That was one of the cool parts of it, that he just has a cowboy hat and a red neck scarf for the whole thing.
But I feel like the neck scarf was holding him back.
What vocally or character wise?
So they have like a little thing, and he like draws a little portrait of her and like leaves it behind as a gift as he sneaks away, and then they have the next scene. What happens next?
After that, when he meets the family.
Yeah, they meet the family.
Yeah, in the film, yeah, including the sister, which leads to the love subplot. And then that's when Jack has, I think, his Santa Fe number.
Oh, yeah. That's what having a family is like.
Yeah, exactly. That's what having a family is like. But who needs it? But he's doing that thing where he's the tough main protagonist. So, he actually does have feelings, but he has to he has to act cool and flaunt his neck scarf and act like he doesn't have feelings. Oh, that's what men do. To rewind a bit,
in the musical, they do away with the bare knuckle boxing. Street thing, and they introduce. That's when the brothers mention like, oh no, we gotta. Jack's like, oh hey, let's go to work today. Let's find you a safe place to sleep. And then the brothers are like, no, we gotta get back to our folks. And then he's like, there's like a subtle like change, right? And Jack's like, oh yeah, I got a place to be too. That whole thing. Right, and that's when, like, the little brother's like, oh, is that the guy you're trying to meet? And then there's Snyder's like, oh, no, we should run. And then they get to the theater. So they do, it does also have the like. It does also show that he's like longing for a family in that way. It's not as, I guess, direct and perhaps in your face as meeting the family,
right?
On hard times as they are, but still this like loving family of like, oh honey, get the cake. Oh, that's for tomorrow. Like, no, I'll just eat it today. I've had so many birthdays. You know, they have this like fun like he has like a broken arm or whatever, and then they're like relying on their children to support for them. And when they have guests over, they add more water to the soup, very explicitly. But it's still like a pleasant, you know, like a Charlie Bucket style.
Yes,
minus the bedridden grandparents until suddenly
close together. Yes,
yeah. Until suddenly, oh, I can walk now. That you're my ticket out of this hellhole.
Thanks, Grandpa.
Thanks, Grandpa Joe. You're a huge contribution to this family.
That's our summary of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So then from there, some more character stuff.
He during Santa Fe, he steals a horse.
He does steal the horse.
And then just lets it go.
And then just lets it go because Christian Bale can do whatever the fuck he wants to.
I've played Red Dead Redemption. That horse will find
I've played Assassin's Creed. Sometimes you just leave him there and they come back to you later.
You just whistle and you just teleport beside you.
Yes, basically, yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, and then I guess it's the next day.
Yeah, and then that's when the strike. They find that their papers are growing up, right?
Yeah.
So it starts to kind of plant the seed of revolution. To be honest with you, I had like a vague idea of what this movie was about, you know, other than there are dancing New York kids in 1800s attire. And this is where the kind of like the main plot, like the driving force of the movie starts. Yeah. Really.
This is when they meet the conflict.
This is when they meet the conflict. Because at this point, you're like 30 or 40 minutes into the film. And like, this is when like the big ball gets rolling. Because at this point, this is when Robert, I can't believe it's not Duval, starts his plot is put into action of let's charge these kids who were selling our papers more money to buy our papers.
I feel like that would also make it harder, like in terms of math of like how many papers. I guess if they're paying with like 50 cents or like quarters and nickels and whatever.
Yeah.
But like I don't know if I want like because before it was like 2 for a penny. That's easy, you know. Yes. Like here's a penny, give me 2 papers. You know, but like now it's like 60 cents for 100. So that's a tenth of a penny.
Yes.
Right. They say a bunch of times. So it's like, here's my penny, here's a paper and a half. Like what's...
Just rip it right down the middle.
Like it's much harder to like... It's enforcing more like batches, discrete batches, because it's harder to break down. You know, it's harder to divide. But that's not
you breaking it down like this is making me more clear that Robert Duvall, who's supposed to be this like clever man who's been in the industry for a while and may or may not be a war hero and has some idea of how math works, was just having a stroke at this point and confirms one of my earlier theories that I just mentioned a few moments ago.
It was the like what was he, like a butler with the weird mustache and the like very soft voice?
The creepy like guy who, the way he talks makes it sound like he probably has clammy hands. And he's like, we should charge those children more money. And I'm like, I don't know who you are, but stay away from my children. Thank you very much.
His voice. Yeah, that is a good. His voice had clammy hands.
Yeah, his voice had clammy hands. This just creepy tertiary whatever 4 times means.
Yeah, there was.
It's just not. Yeah.
Yeah, he did have the two aides, right? There was the bigger guy who was more like, I don't think this is a good idea, kind of thing, and then the weird butler
clammy
hands voice. In the musical, in the play, there's 3. There's two guys. There's one guy. There's another guy holding like a binder, and then there's like a lady. And they're sort of his chorus, his like backup singers,
right?
But also, you know, in the musical numbers structurally, but they are able to like talk amongst themselves while Pulitzer is deciding something to characterize things.
Yes.
But yeah. So this is when the paper goes up, the price goes up,
which is where everyone gets real heated about that because again, conflict of the movie, and that's when the Newsies formulate their idea with Mr. Rah Revolution Christian Bale being like, "Hey, what if we just go on strike?" Which, of course, has been set up at this point in the film by the fact that at the same time the trolley strikes were going on, right? Trolley workers were being clubbed because they were refusing to work and inciting riots and stuff like that. And so at this point, this is when the Newsies decided to do the same. And, of course, the only thing in your mind that kind of, I think, cuts down on the tension a little bit is you're like, this was a Disney movie in the 90s. They're not going to show me a kid being clubbed in the head to death, right? Right? Okay. Inspired by true events, you know. Fun fact, did you know that the character that Christian Bale was inspired by, the real-life person, was like this like one-eyed newsy kid?
Sure.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty intense. There's that one kid running around in the film with an eye patch. Maybe it was, you know, basically that guy. Yeah. But Christian Bale's a lot prettier, so.
Yeah, they all need their own like little like individual. Like there's the one with the cigar.
Yes.
There's the little one. The adorable little one who's not the kid, who's not the brother, but there's like during like carrying the banners, he like as everyone's like marching up, he like slides into a frame and like pulls his pants up with a jump. You know?
Yes, that was actually pretty classy.
Yeah,
pretty classy.
That was adorable.
So at this point, they start their revolution, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to strike," and then they have to go to Brooklyn to get the Brooklyn Newsies. Who, like I said, the second they say that, everyone just gets really ominous.
Yeah, everyone like looks away. And
everyone's like, oh man.
Oh, look at my shoes.
Oh, look at not the Brooklyn Newsies, which, again, I guess we don't need to delve into too deeply because you pretty aptly hit the nail on the head when I said, why does everyone get all crazy about the Brooklyn ones and Brooklyn ones have clubs and slingshots? And you just said, because they're Brooklyn. That pretty much summarizes the whole, that 10 minutes in the movie. So then they go and they get the Brooklyn Newsies, and then they all spit on their hands and shake it, which I guess that's where that comes from, because that's like a thing people do.
I'm sure that came from somewhere else before.
I mean, maybe, but I feel
I'm pretty sure this Disney movie from 1992 did not conceive of and then spread.
You mean the one that nobody watched until like 10 years after it came out? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I feel like that there might have been something else.
Probably fair play.
That instigated that.
Probably fair play on that one. So they get this big rallying of Newsies, and it's about this part where the very important character played by Bill Pullman comes in, who plays a reporter that is you were saying it's a female in the play, but is a man.
And also introduced much earlier.
Okay. Because that was the thing, is I saw in the credits when it was like, Christian Bale, Robert Duvall, and Bill Pullman. And I was like, really? Bill Pullman's in Newsies? I didn't know that. And the movie just kept going on. I was like, are we sure Bill Pullman's in this movie? And then he just kind of rolls in with
like a deleted scene.
That like half smile that he has. And I was like, okay, there's Bill Pullman. I was confused for a second there. So Bill Pullman comes in this part as a really important character as the reporter, former war correspondent, who they say, I think, like used to work for The Sun or something like that.
Something like that.
Something like that. He works for the Pulitzer's competition, basically. And he wants to write this piece about, you know, kids being subjected to, you know, slave labor and unsafe working conditions.
Well, technically, like, very much not slave labor, technically speaking. In that they are able to strike and get better wages.
I mean, they're being, like, slave-driven, but they're being paid for it.
Yeah.
It's still awful, and
definitely awful, but I feel like, technically speaking, we can't call it slave labor.
Okay, I feel like that's maybe contemporary standards. By contemporary standards, we call it slave labor.
If anything, they're freelancers.
That's a really euphemistic one way of putting it. So then, this leads to, of course, like, more musical numbers and hijinks ensue as they start to build this big rallying point of, you know...
Is this when we had Seize the Day, or is this a different one? Mm-hmm. What is the musical number of...
Seize the Day. Yeah, I think it is Seize the Day. The musical number, Seize the Day, where they're all dancing.
It started by Davey, right?
I think so. And then they have like a reprise of it later.
Yeah.
And everyone at this point, this is one thing that took me out of it. It happens in Carrying the Banners at the first number too, but particularly at this part, like midway through the movie with Seize the Day and like the reprise of Seize the Day a couple scenes later, what on earth was going on with the amount of pelvic thrusting? Like the amount of pelvic thrusting ratio to teenage actors / supposedly teenage characters was really uncomfortable for me.
Also the timing of it, like they would say something and then thrust. I'm like,
Seize the Day. This one I'm thrusting. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's what you would thrust about.
I don't think they're like rubbing their hands with their hair like it's like a Pussycat Dolls video from the early 2000s, and they're all thrust in the air. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm into it, not creepily.
Yeah,
I'm curious what's going
maybe
on.
That's how they sell their papes.
Maybe that's how they sell their papes.
Whenever there's like a musical.
Like the choreography's fun, but I'm really uncomfortable. You know, like what's going on?
Yeah, all these like weirdly ripped teen boys just thrusting.
This was the so canon. This takes place in the same universe as Magic Mike. This is like a prequel, right?
Technically speaking, this takes place in the same universe as Bohemian Rhapsody, and also Black Hawk Down. And Apollo 13, in that it's based on a true story. All these based on a true story. Arguably,
Arguably.
Part of the same cinematic universe. Same as The Drift. Rocket Man, sort of.
Sort of. So earlier when I was saying like we're starting an MCU type universe, and you said how?
Yeah.
This is what
I was asking specifically which property is Roosevelt from.
Yes. Yeah, okay, I'm into this. We can map this out later. Create one of those theories. You know, people who it's like crazy theory about how all the Pixar movies are connected. Explained. You know, all the people love doing those explained articles. We're going to map out how all these movies are connected, starting with Newsies. So
your chair started on the other.
My chair also got really uncomfortable by Christian Bale when he was like 17 or 15 or whatever the hell he looked like he was, thrusting the air and spinning around like he was in a boy band. I can't get past that. I'm not trying to fetishize him. Christian Bale is just really uncomfortable.
There was also, I'm not sure at what point it is, but the reporter on the play, Catherine is her name. Catherine Plummer is her nom de plume, is her byline. She has a musical number after they is this before or after they go to the they move some stuff around in the musical, in the stage production. So it's a bit hard to pin things down as much. But they after Seize the Day, they end up in the what is it? The bar? The diner?
The diner.
The diner?
It feels like it would be a bar. If these characters were over the age of 19, then it would be a bar.
Well, it was also 1899.
Yes.
They also were in a quote unquote theater. So anyway, and she shows up, and she mentioned she's been following them because there's an interesting story, and they sort of have a back and forth of are you really going to do this to the Newsies? And the Newsies are maybe you should go back to a ballet or something. We want to say this for an actual reporter, and no one cares. I can make them care. So they sort of have a partnership, a symbiotic relationship there. And then she goes off, she splits off. Oh, she also confronts Jack about the drawing. It's oh, are you going to art school? It's oh, look at me at an art school kind of thing. But then they split off. They tell her to meet them at the gates the next morning, where they're going to do their big protest, their big strike. And she has this whole she has a solo where it's a roller coaster of I can do this versus I have no idea what I'm doing, and it's whips back and forth. It's great. It's really fast, and it just whips back and forth between yes, I can do this. This is amazing. I think I don't know. This could go terribly. They're all counting on me, but I got to do it. I am gonna do it. I'm gonna be great. I'm never gonna be. And she's typing on a typewriter, and then it goes on to the next day where they go to the protest, I suppose. Although at this point Brooklyn's not on board yet,
right?
Because in the movie, right, when they have their strike and then they fight the scabs or the other kids who are still selling papers. There's a fight, and then they win, and then more dudes show up to fight the kids, and then Brooklyn shows up. But Brooklyn doesn't show up in the musical on the stage. Brooklyn doesn't show up until much later, until after Jack is caught by Pulitzer.
Right.
So there's a whole thing of them. They're on site, and it's just the main Newsies, and they're where is everybody? Jackie talked to Brooklyn. What's up with Spot and his gang? And he's he wants to see if he wants to make sure we're not going to blow over in the first round. And okay, how about Harlem? It's Harlem's on board right after they get the go ahead from Brooklyn. It's how about Queens or whatever the other? I don't know what the other places are.
How does New York work?
It's how about Queens? It's Queens is completely on board after they see Brooklyn's on board. So it's entirely hinging on Brooklyn's involvement. So it ended up just being the main characters.
Right.
So it's pretty slim in terms of turnout. And then I think there's another musical number here where no, not a musical number. There's an inspiring speech from Jack when three three kids show up to sell their papers, and then Jack's like, "Come on, you gotta. I'm sure they're paying you extra, but you gotta do the right thing. We're like you. You can't just listen to those guys. They don't care about you. And then one by one, each of the three throws down their bundle of papers and joins the Newsies. And then on the recorded stage production, they have a bunch of scaffolding that they use as fire escapes, or when they need to go up onto a rooftop, or to do running around on whatever. So they have a bunch of scaffolding that's stairs and a top part, and they also have curtains that come down if they need it to pretend to be a wall, or to project stuff onto it. Mm-hmm. But in the recorded one, they have those come up, and it's all just a bunch of guys with billy clubs, and they just run down and start beating on the kids, and the Jack says get them, and they all fight.
So that's pretty. I mean, it's kind of similar to what happens. It's just kind of moved around, and then at this point, I'm trying to remember the narrative. It's pretty much
this is when Crutchy gets taken.
Yeah.
And it diverges more and more, in video games with an alternate history. There's small things at the beginning, and then it builds on, or a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the differences are pretty small, and then they compound. Right. So Crutchy gets taken, and in the what happens immediately in the movie after Crutchy gets taken? Do they just go straight to the refuge to
they try and go and save Crutchy,
and he's like, no, I want to stay here,
and he's like, no, I'm chilling on my one leg with the other kids stuck in this boys' prison, and then after that,
in the musical, it's sort of different in that. After Crutchy is taken, the way they block it is they have Jack on the other side of the stage on one of the scaffolding.
Right.
So he's furthest away he can be in the confines of the stage from where Crutchy is. And Crutchy's like, wait, come back, help me. He's calling out, Jack, race car, or whatever the other guy's name is. But they're all far away. So then the two Mean brothers, the Delancey brothers, they kick his feet out from under him. They Snyder grabs his crutch and starts beating him with his crutch, and they drag him away. And as he's screaming, calling for help, and Jack is understandably very, very upset. So he just runs off because Snyder starts chasing after him, and he gets away and he gets back onto his rooftop penthouse, right? And he has a mournful, heartbreaking reprise of Santa Fe of take one of the lines is something "Give me a tomorrow that won't remind me of today," and just a very longing for Santa Fe, which is his stand-in for paradise, this utopian, better place. Even more so now because of the how awful he feels about having failed his friend as he got dragged away literally by his ankles in the recorded Broadway one, and Jack is unable to help him, right? And then that's the end of that one. Funny thing. During my when I was watching it at Stanley Park the first time, 30 seconds before the end of that musical number, so 30 seconds before the end of Act 1, before the intermission, there's just this huge hullabaloo, this huge commotion 2 rows behind me. I just hear this a woomph sound. There's it wasn't like a slap, but it sounded like if you dropped a purse kind of thing. Like a woomph, but also a bit of a slap, but also a woomph. And it turns out, and I found this out after piecing it out afterwards, the lady in the row behind me, I guess, wanted a picture of the finale of Act 1. But the guy behind her was not having any of it, so he just slapped the back of her chair. Yeah.
Whoa.
And so that nonsense is happening 30 seconds before the end of Act 1. And during a good chunk of the intermission, I'm just hearing the people behind me having an argument of the lady, understandably upset. Did you slap my chair? What the fuck was that? And then you're lucky my husband's here, otherwise, blah, blah, blah. And then the husband's did you slap my wife's chair? And he's yeah. It's come over here. He's no. It's come over here. And I told someone who worked in it, because I had someone who worked in the theater, I would want to know if shit like this was going down.
Okay.
But when the person I talked to came back, she said, oh, the lady's already talking to someone, and I saw the lady already talking to someone else, so that was resolved. But that was
intense.
That was not the excitement as exciting.
I guess they were stirred up by this play about revolution and fighting for your rights, so everyone just pulled out their clubs at Theater Into the Stars and started wrestling each other.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I understand, you're not supposed to, like, videotape or whatever, but, like, and, like, I don't know how long she had been doing it for, but, like, I don't know, you don't, like, punch the back of someone's chair. Like, so, yeah, that was... And then, so there's this big hullabaloo at the end of the first act, so I, like, walked around and, like, bought a hot dog and then came back.
Take a walk.
But, yeah, so then it opens up Act 2 with King of New York.
Right.
That's also where they had King of New York in.
I think about, roughly, yeah.
Thinking about it, they're singing this, like, very upbeat song, like, oh man, we're on top of the world, as our friend has been dragged away to...
Like, confinement unjustly.
Yeah, to the boys' prison.
At a teenage boys' prison.
Where Jack Kelly, clearly the strongest of us, escaped from very dramatically.
Which is an important detail, actually, because they mentioned a couple times throughout Act 1 the thing that Jack escaped from that boys' home previously.
On the roof of the carriage of...
Teddy Roosevelt. Yeah. The president.
Yeah, the way they were talking about it made it sound like it was further away.
That it was what?
That it was further away. Like it was out in the country somewhere.
Oh, okay. That he like rolled off on.
How I thought about it.
Yeah. So then they have King of New York because the reporter writes an article about the Newsies going on strike.
Yeah.
And
it's front page.
Right, it's front page, and they're all getting excited about it, about having their faces in the paper, letting a face to the movement. And then at this point is also when the plot line with Snyder the Spider, guy who owns the boys' home, is like, hey, that hunky, muscular 17-year-old boy who looks vaguely like Christian Bale is the guy that escaped from my boy's home.
Yeah, and then Crutchy's
got a different name now.
Yeah, and then Crutchy lets slip. Like, oh, there's Jack. He's my best friend. Oh, I mean, I've never met him before.
Whoops. At which point the boys' home warden guy is like, huh.
I know where they hang out. There's another diversion in the musical where they don't really have Crutchy do anything after he's been locked up. He doesn't accidentally reveal where Jack is. They also don't have Jack have a hidden, a secret name from what I recall, because that's sort of not strictly speaking entirely necessary. But they do have they do give Crutchy a musical number.
Oh, cool.
While he's in the refuge, and he's writing a letter to Jack, and it's just like it's a really great display of Crutchy as a character, because he's writing, it's a sad song, but he's still trying to be his upbeat, optimistic self. There's a line. He's like, hey Jack, how are you? I wasn't much help yesterday. When Snyder sucked me with that crutch. Oh, it's Crutchy, by the way. And in the in the performance, there's always a little chuckle by the audience, because and then. There's another line where it's the food so far hasn't been bad because so far they haven't given us any food. Just trying to be the sunniest as he can be under the circumstances. And yeah, it's a nice touching song, and it ends with when he signs out at the end, your friend, he crosses that, your best friend, he crosses that, your brother, Crutchy. So it's a very and before that he's I'll be fine. I got a plan to get out. I'm just gonna tie some bedsheets together, throw it out the window, and I'll be gone. But maybe not today. My foot's still not good.
Yeah.
But I don't worry about me. If you can, tell the other guys, because remember, we're a family, so tell them to look out for each other. Which, in the context of him having been left behind, has a bit of a sting to it.
Yeah. But don't worry about me. I'll be fine trapped in this home unjustly. That's basically a prison for teenage boys. That's being subsidized by the government.
But with the character though, it's a genuine. It sounds like a genuine thing, and not as a hate sarcasm. Hey, watch out for each other.
I'm chill.
Yeah. But to watch out for each other, and then it ends with the sign off that I mentioned, and then it cuts to Jack in the theater, where he's painting. Earlier when we first meet Meta, she gestures to one of the backdrops that she was performing in front of, and she was like, "Oh yeah, Jack, this is really good. You got this is amazing. The audience loves it." And Davey's like, "Oh, did you paint that? That's great." And Jack's like, "Oh, it's just the trees, But it's this very colorful sunset of his vision of Santa Fe. It's like purple skies, like gold and orange trees, like a very like pastoral utopian, serene countryside with like majestic mountains and such. So then in Act 2, when we cut back to Jack, he's sort of been like laying low in the theater, painting another backdrop, and then Meta hands him like, oh, here's some money for the first backdrop and the second one, and some extra stuff to help you on your way, because he's planning on leaving. And there's this back and forth. It's like, you're leaving. Are you going somewhere or are you running away? And Jack's like, oh, what's the difference? I'm leaving. And she has a line where it's saying, like, if you're going somewhere, it doesn't turn out to be what you want it to be, you can come back, but if you're running away, you'll always be running away. And that sort of like gets him a bit. And then Davey finds him and is like, hey, where have you been? We've been looking for you. Whereas, what's the equivalent scene in
I don't think they have anything that's that kind of character building in the movie.
Yeah, because he's just like sleeping outside the sister's window.
Yeah, creepily.
Yeah.
And then they're chilling and stuff. And then I can't remember how it ends up leading to Snyder coming back. Snyder shows up at the boys' home.
Oh, yeah, and he's like unnecessarily dancing around behind him.
Yeah. Yeah, that scene's making you nervous because he's like, I need this kid who ran away from my boys' prison, and I'm looking for him, and I think he's here. And they're all like, we don't know Christian Bale. And then he's standing right behind the guy mocking him.
Yeah, Christian Bale is relying very heavily on the cooperative choreography of the other children.
Yes.
If one of those kids is standing in like an inch out of place, Snyder's like, oh, hey, there he is.
Oh, hey, you stupid dumbass fuck. I've been looking for you. Why are you trying to hide behind a wall?
Why are you literally hiding behind me?
Yeah. The more you break it down, the more that I feel like maybe Christian Bale's character was also having a stroke on screen, and they realized that it seemed that way when they did the musical, and they're like, what if he wasn't a dumb shit?
I mean, like, it's like... Of course, it's supposed to be this like goofy, like Looney Tunes kind of thing, but like
it's funny, but it's
very unnecessary.
Yeah,
it's very unnecessarily dangerous.
But like insert like soundbite of
that Jack Kelly, the Christian Bale Jack Kelly, is very different at this point from the stage production Jack Kelly, who is like heartbroken and very like angry at himself for his failures, whereas the Christian Bale, I almost said the Christian Bale Batman, the Christian Bale Jack Kelly, is like, I'm over here, no, I'm over here, I'm behind this sign, you can't see me, like, can I get a dime, I need a donation for the Newsies, like, I'm gonna dance around this figure who kidnapped my best friend and taunt him unnecessarily.
Sounds like a solid plan. So at which point Snyder clues in, obviously, that Jack is there and everyone's covering for him, and then they have their big the scene where they arrest him because they plan the rally, right? They have he's like, oh, I'm going to have a Newsies rally.
Oh yeah, they raid the rally at the theater.
Yeah, exactly, and then cut back to Robert Duvall, who we haven't seen for a while because they couldn't afford him. Question mark? And then
I don't imagine he's like doing anything. I mean, like the character. I don't imagine the character's doing anything really like relevant unless he's like fiddling with the price again. He's like, should I have 61 per ton? No, it's 60.
How much money can I squeeze out of people in 1800s New York?
Just like playing with the price dial, like 61. 59. Not too. Let's just keep it at 60, or maybe
Your impression's bad though because you're not doing a weird accent that I still can't place for some reason. So then Robert, I can't believe he's not Duvall, is like, hey. You know what we should do? We should arrest the shit out of Christian Bale, and then you pretty much Snyder C get visibly excited, and it's
he not bribes, but like the mayor or whatever, the governor.
Yeah,
the mayor. I think
it's the mayor.
Yeah, the mayor is like, I'm not a fan of arresting and beating these children, and then police are like, hey, I have a poker game tonight. You can meet a bunch of rich people, and we'll talk about the election. Like,
and then immediately the mayor's moral high ground goes out the window.
Yeah, and then they have the rally, and then Jack gets arrested, and this part was sort of fuzzy for me in the Christian Bale 1992 one because my my internet started cutting out because my roommate was gaming.
That's a hard knock life, man.
Yeah.
Christian, to summarize it for you, there's an extended chase sequence where basically Christian Bale was doing his audition tape 10 years in advance for Batman, leaping over people and climbing things, and then he gets punched in the face really, really hard.
I saw that part. Yeah, like the slow-mo punch.
Yeah, which just came out of nowhere, like Michael Bay level slow motion punch, and then he gets knocked on his ass and caught by a group of people, which was actually really coolly choreographed, by the way. And then he gets taken to boy jail.
in the stage production. So Davey meets Jack at the theater while he's laying low, and then Catherine also shows up with Les, and they're talking. They're trying to convince Jack to come back, and it comes out that the reason they're there also is to ask Meta to use the theater as a venue for their rally, and they convince Jack to rejoin the fight because there's another musical number with led by Davey, which is with the same rhythm, with the same it's a reprise, I guess, of the typewriter song that Catherine was playing,
right?
Was doing, and so it's like really fast talking, very like. You know, we got him on the ropes. You know, I went back and sold some more papers, but I saw in Weasel's face that he was scared. You know, because he knows that if we actually organize, you know, we could win. You know, and there's like a back and forth of like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, back and forth kind of thing. And then they convince him to, they convince him to be back on board, to come out of hiding and like lead the rally because they need his inspirational speech. But they also say that he should tell Pulitzer, because, you know, let's give Pulitzer a chance to be there or whatever. You know, let's invite the opposition kind of thing. But when they go there, Pulitzer reveals that, like, hey, aren't you that kid who Snyder's looking for? Here's Snyder. He's gonna arrest you. And also like. Yeah, before that, it's like, you can have your rally. None of the papers are going to cover it, you know. And then he's like, there's some reporters. Jack's like, there's some reporters who are still gonna write about it. And Pulitzer's like, you mean my daughter? And he turns the chair around. And it turns out Catherine was his daughter.
Oh, and whoa!
Under like a pen name. And Jack's like betrayed, and Catherine's like horrified. He's like, no, you know, you don't understand. You know, like this is not. I didn't mean to. I am on your side, kind of thing. And they basically say you can either go back to. We'll either give you to Snyder or we'll let you go to the rally, but you have to talk against the. You have to talk against the strike.
Right.
And while you're thinking, we'll throw you into the basement so you can sleep beside one of these the old printing presses, right? The Delancey brothers grab him and like bomb rush him into the basement and like, yeah, you'll sleep beside this thing. And as he's like, tucking in beside this like metal printing press, which is his bed for the night in this like cellar or whatever. That's when Brooklyn shows up, with their like. We're from Brooklyn, we are Newsies, we are Brooklyn, Newsies! Where are you from again?
And what are you again? Yeah.
What is it that you do? And they have like, you know, like, on the stage, they have like striped, like red striped shirts, you know, they're very like flannel, very like, kind of like, a bit more like rough and tumble, like very, very, like, by how they like, their choreography and how they like move around. Right. And then that transitions into being them at the rally, which is I guess the next day. So they're all there, and Meta's like, "Oh hey, welcome to my theater," which is I guess similar to the theater scene from the movie,
right?
But instead of Jack getting arrested and then showing up the next day in a suit or whatever in the movie as a scab.
Yeah.
He shows up at the rally, and just say, like, maybe this isn't the best idea. Maybe we shouldn't do that. And I was like, what are you talking about? Why are you, in the one I watched, there's like a little, like, half a second thing of, like, I forget if it's like, no, as he's walking off stage after him, like, saying, hey, we shouldn't do this anymore, one of Pulitzer's aides just hands him a wad of money. Because, that was another thing that Pulitzer was like, we'll either, option one, you keep doing what you're doing and we'll arrest you and your friends families because, we already have the guy with the crutch. We know who you are and where you live. And, your buddy Davey and his little brother and his family. We know about them. Or you can go to the rally, speak against it, and we'll give you more money than you'll make in a year, and you can go to New Mexico and beyond. Right. Because, hey, you've mentioned you wanted to go west, right? And stuff like that. So he takes the money to speak against the strike. Right.
Which is fairly similar to that whole middle bit in the movie, kind of like where the last act sort of starts, like the kind of falling action. It's that point where, like, the characters are at their most hopeless, where it's like, in the movie, Jack gets arrested. There's none of that stuff where, like, obviously, like, the Pulitzer's daughter, the female reporter, but the male reporter is basically like, oh, by the way, I'm not going to be able to cover your story anymore, because none of the papers, like, care, only I do, sort of thing. Yeah, they're not blacklisted. And then they do a similar thing where they give Jack that ultimatum of, like, hey, we'll give you a bunch of money, but you have to, like, basically go back to working and, like, go against everything you've done so far. Except in the movie, they frame it very specifically of like, we're going to break all your friends' kneecaps and all their parents' kneecaps and throw all of them in jail. And it seems like that's what decides him.
Because newspapers are serious business.
Because, really. Yeah, that's the thing, too. It's like, at what point...
I want my extra dime for my 100
I want my extra dime for my papers. It's like, what point did this become a Scorsese film where it's like, I'll break your kneecaps and I'll break your friends' kneecaps and I'll break your friends' parents' kneecaps and your friend's parents' dogs' kneecaps. I'm like, Jesus, what's going on here? Like, I get that this, like, some of this really happened.
Use cheaper ink.
Yeah, use cheap. Calm down, Robert, not Duvall. Jeez, boy. So then that gets to about the same point then, where, of course, Jack's all like, I'm going to be a bad guy now. And then, at least in the movie, then he sees, like, Davey and his brother and sister being beaten up in an alley. And he's like, okay, actually, forget this entire thing that I've only been doing for like 5 minutes. I'm actually going to help my friends, which you knew was going to happen, but it happens like pretty fast because...
It's like, hey, you got a nice suit out of this. I'm going to keep the suit.
I'm going to keep the suit. I'm going to probably keep the money that I was given, and I'm going to just go back to being a good guy, at which point the printing press that is in both the stage production and the film adaptation comes into play.
Yeah.
Because they're like, hey, what if we printed flyers about having another rally, an even bigger, sexier rally, and everyone's going to be really loud this time, and it'll be for everyone who's being treated in bad work conditions instead of including the Newsies. So at which point they start mass producing their pamphlets with their printing press and are like, Riot 2.0, let's do this. It's on.
On the stage production, I was just checking to refresh my memory. What convinces him to turn back to good is that he talks to Catherine, and she has a thing about how, like, you lied to me, you did not tell me that you were in boy jail and you stole shit.
We're just officially calling it boy jail now too, right?
Okay. The refuge.
But no, boy jail is way better.
And he explains basically, I stole food and clothing for children. Because we were not given any.
I'm basically Jean Valjean from Les Miserables.
Yeah. And she sees, as he's talking about that he, like... This might have been... I think they might have, like, regrouped at the theater. I think. That might be... Some of the timeline stuff might be... No. At the... Earlier on, when he's painting his second one, when they find him... As part of his, like, I'm not getting caught again because this, and he, like, yanks in the production I saw, he, like, yanks off the painting that he was painting, and there's like a political cartoon underneath, But I think in the stage one, he just turns it around, so it's at the back of the canvas. But it's basically like a giant boot just crushing a bunch of children.
Right.
And like a political cartoon kind of thing. Like that's what they do. We're not gonna make it. But I think I'm getting some of the details mixed up because this is beyond where I had reviewed prior to this. But he basically explains, what the living conditions in the refuge were to Catherine, and she's like, oh wow, okay, good point, basically.
Yo, boy jail sucks, dude.
Yeah. And they both sort of like re-encourage each other to rejoin the strike, or to like re-support the strike. And then Catherine has the idea of like, hey, let's print our own paper, And there's also like a neat theme of them. Originally they're just distributing the papers, but as the movie goes on, they like dabble in different aspects of the paper industry. Like first it's they're selling the papers, and then they're in the paper, and now they're making a paper. I thought it was a neat thing. But then you're like, oh, where are we going to find a printing press that's going to help us? And then like, I just slept on one. So then they sneak into to the cellar where he was sleeping, and they like secretly use this old abandoned printing press.
Right, to make their own pamphlets. Yeah. And then, so of course, you have your big moment where they're at the point, so the day comes, and they're at the point.
And also, like, it was in both of them where they talk about how, like, no, we can make this is bigger than just the newspaper boys, because during one of his inspirational speeches in the stage production, it was when he was arguing against the three scabs that time. I forget where it was in the 1992 movie, but I was talking about how, like, we got to do this for all the boys and girls in the sweatshops, all the boys and girls doing other like shitty jobs for low pay, and in like awful conditions, and Catherine was basically saying, once you said that, it became more than just the Newsies. It became about like children as a whole. Like other people can see their children in these positions, right. And that's where you're getting your support. So them broadening their audience base, basically from Newsies to children who work in factories, which there were a lot of in 1899, I imagine. Gave them the critical mass they needed for the finale of the movie, which is where we're going now.
Which is where, so we arrive on the day of, because again, always at the conclusion, there's the big what if, will they moment.
There's always we should have gotten more RSVPs.
We should have, we didn't get RSVPs. And sometimes movies go like the brutal way about it, right? Where it's like, oh no, sometimes the lesson is that things don't go always the way you plan. But this is a Disney movie. So of course, after 5 minutes of being worried that no one's going to show up, everybody shows up.
Everybody's just collectively 5 minutes late.
It's just collectively 5 minutes late. So they all roll up at the same time, and it's like big fun, sexy party volume 2. Let's riot for real this time.
In the stage production. In the movie they have this big whole like parade basically of all the all children of the city. All the children of the city just rising up together in a big parade, in a very like well choreographed parade. So at least the city choreographer is still getting his money.
Sure.
And then they like storm the castle or whatever. And then they like in the movie they like barge into Pulitzer's office and like throw open the window at the back of his office that I guess he's never opened before.
Yeah.
At the top of his giant like golden palace.
Yes.
And all the children are like chanting at the bottom, and he's just covering his ears like, oh, it's too loud.
That's what I'm saying. This is okay. Like reason number 7005. Then I'm like, was Robert Duvall having a stroke? What is going on with his character? Is he a man-child? Did he have like like a fever when he was a kid and get like brain damage? Or, like, he just covers his ears and starts screaming loudly for everyone to stop, and I'm like, did you forget your lines again, Robert? Like, what's happening, bro? What's his name? Like
John Pulitzer? Was that? Yeah. Does John Pulitzer? No, Joe. Does Joseph Pulitzer have some kind of traumatic like ear?
Yeah, with people screaming at him. Like, is there a reason why he's been like a cynical bastard this whole movie?
Like, because that was the most like. He was freaking out as much as the Wicked Witch of the East when was it When Dorothy throws the bucket of water at the witch.
Yeah.
That was the equivalent level of freak out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, I feel like I need some history on Robert Duvall's character.
Yeah, why did he just start, like, screaming?
And also, he's, like, 70 feet in the air. I don't think these children's voices carry that far. They're all pretty good at singing, arguably, for being, like, malnourished children from the 1890s.
Yeah.
But I don't think, collectively, their voice can carry, in a coherent way, 70 floors up to the top floor of this golden palace.
Yeah, the more you break it down, like, detail by detail, it's, like, even a weirder scene to watch. I'm telling you, man, I can't just shake Robert Duvall in this movie. There's just something, like, I want to watch a compilation of just his scenes again and figure out what the hell was going on, if there was, like, subtext I missed or something.
But yeah, then they win, basically. The Newsies.
That's basically it. There's really not a lot of way to build it up. Christian Bale has a cool little, like, speech where he's basically telling him off, and it's like, like, you're seeing
the reporter brings in, I keep wanting to say Taft. It's not Taft. It's the other huge president. Roosevelt, yeah.
Yeah, and then Bill Pullman's reporter guy is like, oh, by the way, I'm homies with the governor, Presidente, whatever political he was at the time, Roosevelt. And by the way, Roosevelt, here's irrefutable evidence that this guy, Snyder's been abusing people at the boy jail. And then Roosevelt gets all like Dr. Brown from Back to the Future about it. It's like, great Scott, we have to help the kids. And then just rides along like the cavalry. And it all goes like surprisingly smoothly. That's another thing where I'm talking about like building suspense. Like there's a scene there where Robert Duvall and Christian Bale are like getting into it. And Christian Bale's like,
they're basically saying, you shut up. No, you shut up.
Yeah, I know, you shut up. And then he's like, you listen to me, boy. Christian Bale's like, no, I'm going to be Batman in 10 years, you old crusty fuck. You listen to me. And then Robert Duvall's like, shit, he's going to be Batman? I better listen to him. But then Christian Bale moves like towards the window, and I was so afraid. Remember I told you in the beginning? No, not jump. But like, remember?
Oh, yeah. Watch this.
Do a flip. But I was like, when I told you at the beginning of the movie, when I was like, they're doing like a close-up on Christian Bale's face, and I was like, oh my god, he's going to die in the movie.
I thought you were going to say he was going to like frame Pulitzer for murder.
Yo, this movie gets wild. Think of all the alternate endings they could have shot for this, man. It just gets so wild in that last like 10 minutes, yeah? And then so Christian Bale goes ominously close to the door and is like, shut up, I'm Batman. And then I kept thinking he was going to get like pushed out the window or something, which he doesn't, because like I said, spoiler, he doesn't die.
Yeah, there's like a balcony out there. And like,
why are you positioning yourself in front of the angriest man in New York City?
Yeah, he threatened to like
break all y'all's kneecaps.
Yeah, he threatened to break everybody's kneecaps. 10 cents up per 100.
He is not well. Like a stroke or no stroke, he is not well in this movie.
Luckily, he's weak against sound, I guess.
Yeah, every villain has to have their weakness. Sometimes it's a bucket of water that melts you, and sometimes it's children from 70 feet below.
Is it just because he's an old man?
I think so. I think there's like some commentary there on like the difference between age.
There's more. They're more explicit about that in the stage production. Actually, they sort of introduce it sort of suddenly, in my opinion, but they sort of carry it on after that. But how during Catherine's solo with the typewriter, right? She mentions that like I forget exactly how it goes, but like how their problem is that they got old.
Yeah,
we're the new generation. We need to rise up. We need to take over. Like it's our time. We're coming up. We need to. Now's our time to take over, kind of thing. Not in so many words, but like when she first mentioned that, I'm like, "Oh, is that one of the themes in this movie? Like age and generational stuff."
I think it's implicit, but it's not, a main point.
But I mean, like in terms of her character, like I haven't seen anything particular. Like there's the haves and the have-nots. There's the elites and the poor. But
right.
I guess you could pull generations into that, like age and such. But they carry that on and they make it more explicitly a theme later on. But yeah. So he throws up in the window. They have their shouting match, and Roosevelt shows up then.
Yeah, and then just like boom, and then there's like the scene where like their argument ends by Christian Bale being like, "Yo, thanks for letting me use your old typewriter that was in the basement, by the way." And then Pulitzer gives him this like, "Oh damn, face!
You foiled me by using my own equipment against me."
And then immediately they win. everything's fine.
Yeah, like, was that supposed to be like, oh, I can't, well, my printing presses are always right, so I guess you win.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like I'd like to clarify that there was a lot that I really enjoyed about this movie, but like that end, I was just kind of like, maybe it was really sudden. Yeah, Robert Duvall maybe again just took me out of it. Sorry, baby, I love you a long time, but I was really confused. I was like, okay, well, damn, I guess you beat me, and they're like, well, we won, and then everyone's like, cool.
It's like, all right, you win. It's like, okay, we'll take it.
You got me. You really showed me.
In the stage production, they're not so much, when it gets to that confrontational scene, they're not really like screaming, rioting down, like at the bottom. They're just like holding hands and like singing like a choir, like a very like angelic choir up to the window. And then Jack and Davy and such, the main characters, show up and start talking to Pulitzer of like, look, we need to like, look, we like this is we got to work something out, kind of thing. And then or something. They're trying to talk to Pulitzer and he's not listening. Right. And then Meta shows up and then like, hey, look who I brought over because I know this guy. And then Roosevelt shows up and they had like earlier in the stage production, they had like mentioned a couple times that Pulitzer was not a fan of Roosevelt.
Right.
And, like during the barbershop scene, he's like, oh yeah, he's a socialist. He's like, it's like, I don't think Roosevelt's a socialist. You're right, he's a commie. Like, and one of the other aides was like, yeah, you did write a bunch of like opinion pieces during his election, Pulitzer basically, yeah, and how will the people know what to think if they don't read my paper? And they sort of transitioned back into the paper. Also, like, they sort of offhanded mentioned when they first met Meta, and they're still like sort of new with, Jack's still sort of new with Davy and Les, of like, oh, do you really know? Did you really meet, I keep wanting to say Taft. I don't know why I keep wanting to say Taft. He's not Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt. Not Taft. Roosevelt. And Meta just offhand is like, oh, I know Roosevelt. But anyway, kids. What brings you here?
Man, it'd be crazy if this came up in the last scene of the movie.
But they breeze past it so quickly that you sort of forget. But then, like, Meta shows up, and then I almost said Taft again. Roosevelt shows up and turns to Jack and says, hey, you must be Jack. I heard we shared a carriage once, as sort of like, to sort of like semi-support his story that you thought maybe was true, maybe was another like thing he made up.
Yeah,
right.
You find out it was actually true, and then he snuck out of boy jail on the back of Roosevelt's carriage.
Yeah, and earlier they were like, when they were like, pushing back against the story, it's like, why would Roosevelt be at boys jail?
Yeah, and
Jack's like, well, he was up for election, and he wanted to show he cared about orphans, right? But it's still like maybe circumstantial. Right. Then like, Roosevelt shows up and basically confirms it, or at least plays along.
It's like Deus Ex Roosevelt.
Yeah.
He rolls up and he's basically like, by the way, you're going to stop what you're doing. Spider Boy is going to real big boy jail.
Yeah.
Everyone's happy.
Yeah, and he basically is like, Pulitzer, like, yeah, I'm not a fan of you either. And he literally has a line basically saying, now, are you going to let those kids just sing all day outside, or are you going to like listen to what this guy wants us to tell you? And just like the underscoring of like, hey, those kids have been singing outside all day. You gotta, and like when that line came up during the thing, people started like laughing. He's like, oh, he's breaking the fourth wall. Yeah. That's hilarious. But then, at least in the stage production, they do have a sort of like bargain, compromise where Jack's like, all right, no, we want you to bring the price back down. And Pulitzer's like, I can't. I literally cannot do that anymore. It's already, I am literally unable to do that after this point. And then he's like, but I can, promise I won't raise it for the next 2 years or whatever. And then Jack's like, okay, but also if we don't sell, I want you to like, well, the bargain is like the price will stay at 60 for the next 2 years. And that, if Newsies buy papers that they can't, and they end up not being able to sell them, that they'll be bought back. Right. Cause there's a line during carrying the banner where it's like, 2 for a penny. If I take too many, Weasel makes me eat them after. Which I was like curious of like, do they force you to eat them? Because I'm sure you could use it for like kindling or something. Like I'm not sure how like literal the like
probably the little eat the cost.
Yeah. But yeah, and like Pulitzer at the beginning is like, I'm not that. No, they're gonna like, I'm gonna lose more money if I like buy back the paper. And then Jack argues back, he's like, no, like no newsie is gonna buy extra papers that he can't sell. We have to carry that shit around all day. But
I may have the jacked body of a 16-year-old Adonis, but Papa ain't carrying these for free.
Yeah. But if they think they can sell more, like, and they have the safety net of being able to sell those back, you might sell more. You're probably going to sell more because if, suggesting that under the current model, like, they are being conservative on what they buy to sell. Because, like, I might be able to sell 150, but I'm not sure, so I'm just going to get 100 kind of thing. So, like, now, like, okay, I'm feeling good today, I'm just going to sell what I can, like, as many as I can, and, like, and they're going to suggest that they're going to sell more on average by doing that. And then they end up shaking, and that's how they sort of resolve that of, like, the price isn't going down, but here are the compromises around that.
Instead of the film being streamlined, like, be like, hey, I purchased a bunch of pamphlets, all these people are outside, so guess what? I won. And he's like, yeah, understandable. Guess there's nothing I can do. Lowering the price again. And then the movie just ends. Bam!
And then they have a similar scene of, like, Crushy being the one to see Snyder off.
Yeah.
Of, like...
To big boy jail.
Yeah. And then, because they sort of, like, I don't know, in the movie, right, they have the sister shows up again, and then they kiss, and, like, Dave is just fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, understandable.
Like, I don't
kiss
know.
My sister.
Like, I don't know if they've even, like, talked to each other in front of him. Like...
Like, yeah, in the movie, it's like, so, hey, Davey, by the way, I'm making out with your sister now. He's like, cool, sis, if you want to go off with Christian Bale, Cowboy Robin Hood, you go right ahead. He's going to be Batman one day. And they're all like, cool, oh, I'm fine with this. And they're like, yeah. And then don't forget that there's that, like, 1 minute scene where Jack is like, cool, we won. By the way, I'm just going to hop in Roosevelt's carriage and go to the train station and leave for Santa Fe. And then he leaves for exactly 60 seconds. And while
I think it's like I think it's suggested to be like an hour or something. He like drives there, and then everyone's like, "Okay, I guess our leader's gone. I guess I'm in charge now," says Dave. "Let's go back to work selling papers."
And then they're in line and they're going like, "Okay, I guess we're selling papers," but everyone's kind of teary-eyed because Christian Bale's
four horses are showing up.
Wait a second, look, it's Jack right now who makes an offhanded comment about how Roosevelt, like literally the President Roosevelt.
I don't think he was the president yet. I think he was still like governor.
Oh right, he was governor. How literally the future President Roosevelt is like, by the way, you should probably like do your thing and maybe you're not done here yet. And Christian Bale's like, yeah, I'm not actually wanting, you know how my whole character arc for the last 10 years of my life and 2 hours of this movie was going to Santa Fe? Honey, I'm going to actually chill with my Newsy friends. And they're like, happy ending.
Well, on the stage production, they sort of like underscore that more. Like Roosevelt more or less wanders off stage after he left. He basically says, hey, Pulitzer, listen to this kid. And then man is like, hey, wanna walk off stage together? And he's like, yes.
Yes, I do.
And then, so he's they're basically saying, like, oh no, he's talking to Catherine, and he's basically saying, yes, you're great, I love you, but I gotta go to Santa Fe now because my work here is done, And then they basically their first question is, what's Santa Fe got that New York doesn't have? And then they immediately follow up with like, or better yet, what does New York have that Santa Fe doesn't? Basically saying like, hey, everybody you know is here. Yeah. We love you here. You have a family here. And he's like, all right, good point. So then he decides to stay.
So I'll stay.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm going to choose to stay with my family rather than chase this hypothetical pipe dream. Mm-hmm. And go into this other land that I've never been to and think their trees are yellow and gold, And that's sort of like, we're happy as a family now.
Yeah.
As a community of poor street urchins with a slightly marginally better life now. Because we have a kind of job security, I guess.
The closest you can have to job security in a non-unionized state where everyone who unionizes or tries to gets literally beaten almost to death. Not bad.
Yeah, and they get Crusher back.
That's right, yeah. As you see, he locks up Snyder in the movie. In the police carriage, and then sends him to big boy jail.
I think he's part of the group that shows up with Netta and Roosevelt.
Yes.
I was going to say Taft. I'm just going to stick with Taft. I don't know why I keep saying Taft.
Rolls up with Taft. Don't be daft. Go with Taft.
But yeah, he shows up and like, hey, they let me go as part of the bargain. Oh no, that was also, I don't know, at some point.
At some point, because in the movie, Bill Pullman reporter is like, oh, by the way, yeah, here's my evidence. Yeah, we talked. Snyder is a bad guy, and they're like, yeah, Snyder is a bad guy. Let's throw him in jail. Like, okay, cool. Also, Crutchy's here.
Yeah, it's because like he was supposed to be spending that money on the children rather than like
hoarding it
on his like top hat and cane or whatever.
That's the thing I was gonna say. What do you think a guy like Snyder does? He's like, well, I'm the owner of a boy jail, and I like to polish hats and get new canes in my spare time. I'm like, cool, bro. Like,
what's his name? Spot Conlon also had a cane.
That's true.
A pretty slick cane for a street urchin.
But he's from Brooklyn. They're from Brooklyn. They are Newsies.
It's probably
Newsies.
It's probably just a baseball bat that he carved down really
pretty finely.
But
that's Newsies.
Yeah, that's Newsies. Yeah, in the stage play, they have like a, I don't know what they call it, but they like go through all the songs again for like
an overture, like an
overture,
a reprisal,
like a finale overture where they like sing "Carrying the Banners" and then "King of New York" and then like the hits, and then they'll take a bow. But yeah, that's Newsies. What did you think of the movie?
I think that I can see where some people's problems were, because like I do feel like I don't know why it got the overwhelming hate it did initially when it came out,
because no one cared.
Yeah, fair enough.
Who wants, like, okay, here's the pitch. Okay, stars Christian Bale, who you don't know who that is yet.
Yeah, he's not Batman for another decade. As
a child selling newspapers based on a true story.
Yes.
In 1899, everyone's favorite year.
Yes.
And they're singing.
Okay.
Who is this for? Who, like...
Everyone.
Like, it's the songs are catchy, sure, but like not as catchy as the stage production because they sort of retool some of the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady looking for her child right out of the gate is sort of a damper on the word of the thing.
And then,
but also like it's not a cartoon, or it's not cartoony enough for the little kids to like it in the general idea of them. And like, it's not really something that people have heard of. Titanic. People have heard of Titanic.
Yes.
Other things. I don't know, the LA riots in 92 or around there. People have heard of that because it's more recent. But like a newspaper strike from almost 100 years before about
not as timely.
Yeah, especially in the way they did it. I think. I'm sorry, did I cut you off? I feel like I cut you off that you were going to say.
Oh no, I was basically going to kind of retool what I said earlier about like I feel like some of them maybe not necessarily they can't sing, but it's like they're very much characterizing them like talking with thick New York accents and singing like kind of flatly. So it's kind of one of the. It's not like as the most like attractive musical as musicals go, and it's like you're dealing with like just pubescent Christian Bale, I suppose.
I think they're all in their like late teens, early 20s.
Kind of thing, yeah.
Except for the little ones. But
the itty-bitties. But overall, so it's like, it's not necessarily the most, like, it doesn't flow the same as other musicals. But like you're saying, there's some catchy numbers. Honestly, there is some good performances. Like, I actually thought, like, I could see how this helps catapult Christian Bale onto American Psycho and then Batman.
He hates this movie.
Does he really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Because, like I said, the singing was very last minute.
Yeah.
So he was like, from what I understand, he was like, what? Singing? That was not, okay, fine, I guess. Sure, okay, what you get. But considering that, I think some of them were pretty good. I prefer, like, I prefer the stage ones.
Yeah.
Because that was more, they cast singers because they knew it was a musical.
Exactly.
And they sort of retooled some of the, because, like, I was listening to, like, there's there was a couple of lines where they have a different inflection, or like a different tone, direction. I know what I'm talking about.
Hey.
On some of on the lines versus the movie from 92, where they like make it go up instead of going down kind of thing, which changes it a bit, the tone of it. I think the Broadway one where they did it on purpose, I enjoyed more than the plus the I don't know it because it's a adaptation several times removed from the movie, which itself is sort of removed from actual events, because they were doing things to fix things. The things have been fixed, which has that going for it.
Right. But yeah, it was still like pretty good for the time. Again, like I can also counterwise, I can see why it's developed like a cult following.
I don't know if it has.
It has to an extent, actually.
I think the cult following is mostly around the Broadway one.
I think, though the induction of a musical may have retroactively made people take more of an interest in the movie, sure. I think it's
also like retro Christian Bale
kind of thing. Yeah, like I feel like it would be. I know we were joking earlier about like classic question mark. I think it's like kind of like a modern classic that will become one to an extent just because of like the role that it's filled and like how it tooled, the musical like up going forward.
Well, tooled in that it. Strangled it in the cradle up until High School Musical showed up for Disney, at least.
I mean, that's a pretty visceral image, but I suppose. But you know what? Sometimes things take on a second life, like 10 years after they're made, and this is an example of that. So I think in that, I don't know. I'm saying, I'm going to say a crisp 8 out of 10. Wasn't the greatest musical I've watched, but I had fun. There were some really fun. There were some lines that actually made me like chuckle out loud, and the characters, a lot of them were likable. With their 1900, New York twang and slang and...
Papes, yeah, get your papes.
Papes, yeah, exactly. There's something infectious about it, right? You're like, okay, I'm one of these people. Like, yeah, like, let's sell papers.
Yeah, so, this is an accent I can get behind.
It's an accent I can get behind. So, yeah, crisp 8 out of 10. I had a good time.
But yeah, like, I don't tend to number these things, but I recommend checking out the Broadway one if you can. I have it on the thing. Or also, if you have time, and if it's still going, the one at Stanley Park.
Yes, which was kind of our whole inspiration for doing this.
Yeah, for Theater of the Stars. One day, like I said before, they extended it to the 23rd, so if you're listening to this before the 23rd, I think it's, like I said, it goes back and forth between Newsies and Mamma Mia. But I think the 23rd, the final day is Newsies. Mm-hmm. But I recommend that because it's neat. Because plus I feel like it being on a stage, because it's already the artifice of being on a stage, adds to, in a weird way, to the suspension of disbelief, right? Because if someone's dancing on a stage, you're already giving it a lot of leeway. Whereas if someone's dancing, in a street, it's harder to be on board because then there's the at the back of your head, or at least at the back of my head, I'm like, would they actually do that there? Would
Christian Bale really stand precisely between those two lampposts to hump the air and run his hands through his hair as he's jumping around singing "Seize the Day"?
Yeah, it's like is that how they sell all their papers? Because whenever there's like a musical, it's always fun to imagine because there's the musicals where Rocketman versus Bohemian Rhapsody, where the songs in Bohemian Rhapsody were like, hey, let's go to the studio. This is the song we recorded at the studio. This is us performing this song in a concert. Whereas Rocketman is like, let's just start singing now.
Just jump into the bottom of your pool as you're committing suicide, and as you sink to the bottom of the pool, start singing to a younger version of yourself the highly popular song Rocketman.
Yeah, playing a tiny piano in a fishbowl space helmet.
That's what sold me.
But, I remember hearing someone's a similar argument for the stage version of Into the Woods, which is also a great one, versus the movie version of Into the Woods. Because Into the Woods, the movie version, while they do have the sets and the locations, and they're not on the stage, it does sort of make more sense on the stage if they keep bumping into each other. Are you familiar with Into the Woods?
Only vaguely.
Okay, but it's like a mashup of Cinderella,
fairy
tales, and they all bump into each other, sort of overlap with each other. But in the stage production, it sort of makes more sense if they keep bumping into each other in these vast, spooky woods because the stage is so confined. Mm-hmm. Of course they're going to bump into each other. They only have so much space to move around in. Whereas in the movie, it's like, that's suspicious that they keep. In the whole woods, they just keep bumping into the other main characters. Okay, but similar with Newsies, right? And a good amount of impressive choreography is in them switching, changing the set dressing of them, pushing a table off stage while they're doing butterfly kicks, and on the other side pushing a desk on screen. I was telling my buddy who was in on the stage production at the Theater of the Stars. He plays 3 characters. He plays his primary one is one of Pulitzer's aides, the one with the binder. He also plays, for one scene, the stage manager at the theater, and also one of the bulls, one of the people who like beats up the children. Right. And I was telling him how, I know they're separate people, I know they're separate characters, and they're just having him, play these different characters. But it's much more entertaining if you imagine it as the same guy. Like his day job is Pulitzer's aide, and then to top up his spending money, he moonlights as a stage manager. And when he's had a really bad day, he just starts like busting skulls.
Yeah, beating kids.
But similarly, because they also have to do the like moving stuff onto the stage, moving stuff off the stage, it's also fun to imagine that like that's literally the entirety of the universe is the stage. Yes. And it's basically like a timeshare, of Pulitzer trying to get all his paperwork done because, oh no, the poor kids have the room for the next hour. I gotta get all this paperwork done and move my desk out of here before,
The glory of theater.
Yeah, do you have anything else about
Newsies?
About Newsies?
Brooklyn, Newsies. We are Newsies.
But yeah, like I recommend checking out the stage production. I think the things they did change were good changes that made it more. And I think the industry agrees with me that it's the more popular.
Probably.
I think I'm not in the minority of that. But yeah, I think it's, I don't know. Like there's always, whenever there's an adaptation, like, oh, the book was better, or the original was better, or the movie was better in these ways. I think it's weird that the stage production, even though it came after, or perhaps just like because it came after, it is the more superior one, which isn't always the case, because movie adaptations of books, for example, clearly come after the book, but they're not always better. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's because there's enough similarity in format between a movie and a stage musical.
Right. It's true. I don't have any counterpoint. I agree with that, actually.
Cool. I win.
Much like Christian Bale at the end of Newsies, you agree with my point, and then I make a Robert Duvall face and go, oh, and then we immediately cut to the scene of you celebrating victory.
Where I ask a cop for permission to slam the door on this child abuser.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all we have for Newsies. Do we have something that we're going to talk about next time? Do we know?
I'm starting to circle the drain on the Tarantino idea. Maybe something I face now that we brought up at the beginning of this episode. Kind of like to see where that conversation would go.
For me, of the Tarantinos that I'm most familiar with and I enjoy the most is Django.
I actually quite like Django too.
Okay, cool. Django next?
We're going to do something Tarantino-y next time. To be determined.
Probably Django. But yeah, that's all from us. I've been Vincent.
And I have been Phelan. Tune in next time when we talk about Christian Bale doing push-ups and then as Batman. And then we talk about Christian Bale doing crunches in American Psycho. And then we marvel once again at why Hollywood decided to cast a bunch of shirtless 16-year-olds to play newspaper hookers.
Wait, that's what we're talking about next time? That's what we were talking about this time.
That was a joke.
All right, have a good week, everybody.